They understand us as people and what we're trying to achieve and our mission.
We've built a team around us, and judo are a huge part of that team.
Talk to the bank, that's changing.
No, it's not fair. Britain's at a crossroads now. We are. They all said multiculturalism's fact. No, it's not fair. Britain's at a crossroads now. We are at a point of no turning back. I'm two different people. Stephen Lennon is the individual, it's me, and Tommy Robinson has become the movement. Tommy Robinson means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So what does it mean to you? What is...
Welcome back, Di. I thought I'd do Tommy Robinson because we had 16 watching a couple of minutes ago with us, and they usually come from the videos of Tommy Robinson. So that's why I'm playing them again. Plus, it's interesting.
Tommy Robinson. It's a nightmare. They want people to think you're a Nazi, horrible, racist, extremist, full of hate. And it's just not true. There's one thing I've said. One that's wrong. One.
Do you understand then why people are afraid of you?
And the portrayal of who I am has come from a deceitful, lying media.
And does none of it come from your behaviour? You intentionally broke the law.
Yeah.
And you knew that what the consequences could be.
The way Israel has been portrayed, and the way Jews have been portrayed, is that unfair. I follow it all. There's 2 million Muslims comfortably, happily living in Israel that are part of government, that are part of the judges, that are Supreme Court. I think that she's purposely provocative. I would advise anyone to set fire to the Quran.
She got a flamethrower.
I don't think we should be burning Qurans. I think we should be reading them. Are you going to call me far right?
That's extreme. And you think it's so important that you're still doing it?
Yeah. Jesus.
You're right.
So much passion for his country. Look at him tearing up.
I'm Jonathan Sacerdoti. Tommy Robinson, welcome. Great to see you. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. You have a beautiful home.
Thank you very much. Happy to have you here. Now, I last saw you a bit further away from me when I came to the United Kingdom march, which I wrote about in The Spectator. And people can read what I said about it, but I was very, very surprised by what I met there because I'd been warned it was a far-right, extremist, racist rally. And like many people, I went there with a bit of apprehension, but I experienced something very different. So first off, what I wanted to ask you is, how did it feel from where you were standing on that stage to have pulled off this incredible, massive event?
I think only probably last week am I taking in the success of it. I don't enjoy the day. The days are stress for me. The 2 days before that were up there with the most stressful probably days of my lives. I knew we were on the verge of something huge. If you listen to all the interviews I gave in the run-up to that event, I told people clearly this is going to be the biggest event in British history. The numbers that are coming, you're going to see 1 million people turn up in central London. And I had my finger on the pulse of how the public were feeling. So I knew a lot of people were coming, but a lot rides on it and a lot had gone into it. So a lot of work with the police. The police were great. The police were great. In the last 4 events, so I know some of my supporters will be getting upset here because I've seen some footage of some of our supporters getting attacked by police. But per se, you have to take the figures and the numbers. The numbers that were there, the size of the police operation, the size of the event, the police were great in the build-up to all of it. But for me, I'm always worried from the night before. Well, I got every single one of the speakers, singers in one location, and then we brought them all in together. But then again, we messed up because when we tried to get to the event, there were so many people, we couldn't get through the crowds ourselves. But yeah, I think I only just took it in this week, watching back, just thinking, wow, looking at the numbers, watching the media dig their own grave as well. It's insane. When I see the 100,000, I just think, like, don't you realise anymore? You can't control that monopoly. You don't have that control.
I got asked that a lot, how many people were there, and I was like, how do I know? I was front in the press area. Have you had anyone analyse? Like, there must be companies that can do crowd analysis.
We've had a crowd analysis that's come in at 750,000, but that's of what they can see. So that's just of what you can see. Now, it goes out of sight from the helicopter view, from the overview. The helicopter company come back with that 750,000. But that's not taken into account that we don't carry on going.
But even 750,000, like I guess these things aren't a precise art. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it was 750,000, 3 million. I think that I felt at the time, all the different claims, it happens at every protest or march. The police say one thing, the organisers say another thing, the truth somewhere in the middle. A lot of people that day turned up.
I'm super happy with the behaviour of our supporters, with the way they conducted themselves, and at every event. And I keep stressing it every time, and I don't need to stress it anymore. And I know that. This is the 4th United Kingdom event. It was 4th or 5th. There's the 3rd one I've been at because I was in prison for 2 of them. But even then, I remember at each one. I remember a feeling. Do you know, I went to Poland for their Independence Day. Did I go in 2015? And when I went there, I experienced something I've never experienced. There was 250,000 Poles, children on their shoulders, celebrating their identity. And as I spoke to the Polish and I looked at Polish history to understand their history, I understood why they've always fought for their identity. And I experienced something. I remember standing at the front like that, and I felt power. I just felt something all over me that I felt jealous of, because I felt we'd lost this. In Great Britain, we don't have this. This pride and this, whatever you call it, camaraderie, this togetherness that brings them all together for their identity, their culture, and their country. And the celebration. I interviewed Polish people that day who have been in England, and they said, your older generation know who they are. Your new generation, they are lost. And I get that. So as I'm looking at our country, our new generation are lost. But I've never felt that. And I remember then on the 27th of July, 100,000 people in Trafalgar Square. I remember standing there thinking, wow, I feel it.
That's another United Kingdom.
Another United Kingdom event, 100,000 people. And I felt, and I'm thinking, look, I've got goosebumps now. I've got goosebumps now.
One of the things that I noticed about you is that you are actually, for somebody who's portrayed in the media as thuggish or loud, football hooligan, far right, all those things. Every time I've seen you do interviews like this one, and every time I've seen you on a stage or giving a speech, actually you get quite...
He's always very articulate. I'll agree on that.
It's emotional. You're quite an emotional guy.
I am an emotional guy. I'm an emotional. I am, yeah.
Which I find, I have to say again,
But real men cry, don't they?
well, that's what they say, right? And you know, you're obviously quite a tough person, and I think you've seen your fair share of violence in your lifetime. You've handed out some of it, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go through all the individual. He did this, he did that. He joined.
Dog trot on the remote again. Damn.
Advance. It's worth shaping a way of life.
And coal, metals and minerals like those mined by Glencore.
Did that, he joined here, he joined there. That's out there for people to see, and it's in your books. And I think a lot of the accusations have been answered. I'm not really commenting on what's right and wrong about that. I think that's quite covered, that territory. I want to talk really more with you today about where you are now.
And there you have it. If United Nations behind it, it stinks to high heaven, die, as you'd be aware.
And how you got here as a person. I'll say one last thing about the march. It was my first time at a Tommy Robinson event, and I had an umbrella. I came prepared with an umbrella, and it started pouring at a couple of points during it. And at one point, I was standing in this area at the front with press and VIPs, and someone tapped me on the shoulder who'd come and seen me and in the crowd before, and they said they'd seen my videos, and so we'd had a bit of a chat, and they said, do you mind if someone comes and stands under your umbrella with you? And I said, sure. And this woman came along, and it was your mum. And she said, this is my first Tommy Robinson event. How was it to see your mum in the front row there?
I'm emotional already. It was yeah, I don't know. God, look at me. You're right, I'm an emotional man, aren't I? Do you know, my emotions are so up and down as well, they fly everywhere. It was great for my mum to see, and it was great for my children. My children's first one was the 27th of July. Remember, my children have seen a lot and heard a lot and hear a lot of negative stuff about their dad. So then when they actually, for the first time, got to see what I do, it was obviously, I looked at their faces, they were just standing there, like, looking at the crowd, like, and watching it and listening. And I think for my mum as well, I looked at my mum and she had a big smile on her face. I said she was very proud. And I've put her through some hell. So imagine the worry I've given my mum. Do you know, I'm a father. I've got 3 kids. God, if my kids give me any one bit of the worry that I've put her through, when you want to take everything away from your children, don't you? You take every bit of pain, every bit of suffering. So I think my mum's had to see it a lot and experience a lot.
And I asked her, I said, how does it feel seeing him? Are you proud? I mean, the thing is, she must be very proud.
Yeah.
And well, go on.
It's a Mickey reference. Stop swearing. Even my messages, like, she watches all her videos. And I got one yesterday. Will you stop swearing? Found this great accent. It's a great accent. She's obviously watching all my interviews. But this is you at your best.
So you must worry about you a lot.
Yeah, my mum worries about me a lot, and I put her through a lot of worry. I've been in some bad places, some dark places.
Hey, Vars, welcome back, mate.
In politics, I probably put her through a hell of a lot of worry. I remember when I started the English Defence League, I started my activism 2009. I had a family at that point, and I had 2 successful businesses and 7 properties. So I was doing well. And my passion was making money. And then then we had the Soldiers' Homecoming. Just many people will know the history of what started it, but the soldiers were attacked in Luton. And then I formed the United People of Luton, which developed into the English Defence League. And then I started the movement, and it was when I got invited on Jeremy Paxman. And my mum had been begging and crying. The whole family had. Stop, Stephen, please stop. Because in the first 6 months, the police kicked the door off 3 times. They raided my mum's house. They ransacked her house. It was all when I looked at it, it was all pressure tactics. So they were trying to crush. When I was coming out and talking about grooming gangs, this was at a time when there was no mention of grooming gangs, and the police were in total cover-up mode across the country. South Yorkshire police travelled down. They raided my mum's house with guns. This is the same police force, Rotherham Police Force. They travelled down. They gave me a criminal damage charge. They went to my children's home and my mum's house, ransacked both of them, and then they gave me bail conditions not to be in a group of 3 or more English Defence League. The bail date was to prevent me talking at another English Defence League demonstration in Yorkshire, and it was Yorkshire police that come down. This was total cover-up mode. And at that time, I remember my mum was just crying all the time, saying, please, Stephen. And she worked at the Catholic school.
How old were you then?
25. And she worked at the Catholic school in Luton. And they sat her down and warned her. First of all, like they were saying prayers in the staff room for Shabina, a Muslim member of staff, whose dad was debating the far-right racist extremist leader of the English Church League. And my mum was standing in the staff room. Right, that's my son. But they didn't know it's her son at the time. So she's come home crying, saying it's so embarrassing.
Did she ever believe it? What they said about you?
No, she knew. Everyone who knows me in Luton, like, I remember when I first had to tell my kids.
Geez, that looks interesting, Vars.
Your dad's Tommy Robinson, which is when they're going to middle school. And they didn't have a clue. They're totally shielded from all of it. So they had no idea their dad. But when my daughter started at 9 years old, she goes to middle school. When that come, the school said, you're going to have to tell her. Like, because when she gets to the next school, kids are 10 and 11, they're going to tell her. So then I had to sit my daughter down and I had to sit my kids down and explain that people are going to say bad things about your dad. But then because they know, so I've got friends, I've got a Muslim mate called Sully. I said, do you know Sully? She said, yeah. I said, you know I love him. You know our relationship. And she said, yeah. They know the diversity of my friendship and loved ones. They know that. So then for them, their dad to be getting called a racist, it's nonsense to them. But my mum had always been begging me to stop, begging me. And all my family had. And then I got invited on to Jeremy Paxman. And I remember coming home that night and I walked in and my mum said, you were fucking brilliant, Stephen. Sorry, Mum, because she doesn't like everyone knows she swears. She said, you were fucking brilliant. From that point, my family in those early years, even my ex-wife, I just said, look, I can't stop. I can't stop.
Thank God you didn't.
So my mum's been through a lot. My dad, they've seen some terrible situations. Me in terrible places. Me coming out of jail. I was wrecked when I come out of jail. Wrecked from solitary confinement each time. Absolute mess. So they've seen me suffering mentally, physically, beatings, fear. Obviously, a lot of my problems, which I only come to now, they come from fear. Or it's constant fear.
That picture just there, it's got two of the most important men in my upbringing. One of them is my dad, and the other one's my therapist. And he was a publisher. He published the book of my therapist. Weirdly, have you got a therapist?
No, I haven't. No.
Have you thought about it?
No, I should have one. I know I should have one.
Best thing people could do. I've got to tell you.
Yeah,
I recommend it.
Well, I went on a 28-day rehab. Yeah, I just made my film Silence, the one I went to jail for. And when I lost that court case, they bankrupted me. I lost the court case. I got divorced. It was at the start of COVID. And I'll be honest, I needed a break. I was gone. And so I booked into 28-day therapy. And when I went there, you sit around the room like this, and you sit around the room and you have to say why you're there. You have to say why you're there. My name's Stephen. I'm a fucking lunatic. My name's Stephen. I'm a lunatic. But you have to say why you're there. And I said, and all these people were saying, I said, I'm here for a break. And everyone's like, oh, I said, I'm just here for a break, man. I need a break. I needed to get out. And then I realised, then as I listen to these people talk about addictions, and I thought, well, I do that. I've done that. I upset my family like that. So I started realising which they say, look for your common things with the other people. And then I started speaking, and I remember crying I couldn't speak. Every time I tried to talk, I just burst out crying. And I bottled up and hid all those emotions probably for 20 years. So I've never shown any of those emotions. So when I started talking, I couldn't talk. And then I was just an emotional mess. And I sat there by the end of this 28 days and thought, this room of people know more about me than anyone, more about me than I knew. But then by the end of it, after talking a couple of times, I remember ringing my ex-wife. God, I'm an emotional man. I remember ringing my ex-wife saying, get our son therapy. Because Jesus.
You're right.
Yeah, sorry. Because I thought about all the things he'd seen as a 10-year-old. And I'm like, yeah. So there, as I said, when I actually spoke about it, I thought, wow, I felt like I lifted a weight off my own shoulders. So then I rang my ex-wife and said, you need to find therapy for my boy, because he'd seen me get attacked. He'd seen threats he had panic attacks because someone come up to us and we were having a meal, and some lads come over saying they're going to stab me up. And he then wouldn't walk down the street with me. He got scared. He had panic attacks as a 10-year-old. I always used to say to him, men don't cry. That's what I was like. Men don't cry, son. Life's hard. You need to be ready for life, because life's going to be tough. And then when I started speaking about it in the therapy thing, I thought, fucking hell, man, he needs to talk. He needs to cry. Yeah. But yeah, so I've done 28-day therapy, and I come out feeling a different person.
I recommend it, and not 28 days. Do it ongoing. Once a week, make the time. Seriously, I think it's honestly, I wish so many people I know could do it. It's such a healthy thing to do for your own mind, whoever you are. But I'm not here to sell you therapy. Do you understand then why people are afraid of you?
Well, since I started talking, there's been an effort to make me totally toxic. I'll give you an example. Sky News interview, yeah? Jason Farrell. Google this. Tommy Robinson, I don't care if I incite fear, yeah? So I've gone for an interview with Sky News, and I've done this yesterday with another journalist, and I've put a camera there and just press record as we're sitting talking like this. So I've recorded the entirety of the conversation because I know what they're going to do. And then the headline comes out in Sky News. Let me get it out, actually, because it's still out there. The fact that it's still out there is insane. It's got 4,000 Ofcom complaints, and this is just one example. I don't care if I incite fear of Muslims, yeah? This was a headline, breaking headline, everywhere. What? Did he say it? No. So Tom Robinson, I don't care if I incite fear of Muslims, yeah? Now, when I watched it, I'm looking at it thinking,
Come on, I'm getting sick of picking you up.
oh, how's he? And I saw this headline and it blew up everywhere. So I watched the video back. And what I say to him, we're talking about a video called Loverboy that come out of Holland. And the Dutch education system was showing in 2006, I think, they were showing an education video to Dutch girls to show that Moroccan men use a process called Loverboy to entrap the girls. It's the same as grooming, yeah? It's the Moroccans doing it in Holland, it's the Pakistanis doing it in England. So what I said about that film, we're talking about that film, and I said, I don't care if that film incites fear, as long as it stops kids getting raped, yeah? So I was talking about a film, that was the context. Now what they've done is, when they showed me sitting here, he put a voiceover saying, I put to Tommy Robinson that he continually upsets and puts fear into Muslims, and then had me saying, I don't care if it incites fear. Yeah. So I've done the transcript of their own YouTube video. So I don't care if they got rid of the T, because I said it, incite, and they got rid of the S. Yeah. So they manufactured a voiceover for a question they hadn't asked me to give a portrayal to the public of me acting like I don't care. And I do. And the truth is, I do care if people are worried. I remember sitting in the hairdressers in Luton at the English Defence League days, and a Muslim girl saying she was scared because the English Defence League were in town. My heart dropped. And then at the same time, I had to weigh up that girl feeling like that with English girls feeling scared to walk the streets, English parents feeling scared that their daughters can't go up the park. So I had to weigh all that up. But my point is, people have a fear of me because they have a fear of the betrayal of who I am. And the betrayal of who I am has come from a deceitful, lying media.
And does none of it come from your behaviour?
Yeah, some of it. At times I'm impulsive. I've been on covert recordings. I've been recorded live. I've done 100 speeches at national demonstrations against Islam, against immigration. There's one thing I've said, one, that's wrong. One. And it was at a Tower Hamlets demonstration where I said, every Muslim watching this, you got away with killing on 7/7. This is exactly what I said. You got away with killing on 7/7. If British people are hurt, maimed or murdered again in this country, you will feel the full force of the English Defence League. Yeah. And I regret that. And that's the one thing I've said.
Let's be clear though, why do you regret it?
Because it was wrong.
Or what part of it?
The warning to every single Muslim, they didn't get away with killing or maiming. I was the leader at that time, and I was a bit out of control at that time. I was the leader at that time of a pressure movement. I saw my job was to put pressure, and I thought when we started the English Defence League, we're going to put pressure on the Muslim community to turn on the radicals. That was our intention. And it worked in Luton at the start. We put pressure on them. They come out and confronted all the jihadists. So Al Mujahideen were confronted by all the Muslims after Friday prayers, but they're only confronted. And I remember emailing the email afterwards saying, it's great what you've done today, but you only done it because we made you do it. You didn't do it for the greater good of the town. You done it because you're scared. That's basically why you've done it.
Thinking forwards, when I look at the path that you've taken, that you describe in your books, so you went from Enemy of the State, Silenced, Manifesto, these main three books. I think they show a sort of arc of the development of you, Stephen, but actually of Tommy Robinson, which is a brand.
I'd say Stephen Lennon is the individual, it's me,
Yeah.
and Tommy Robinson has become the movement. Right. Tommy Robinson means a lot of things to a lot of different people.
So what does it mean to you? What is Tommy Robinson?
It's a nightmare. If I'm honest, it's a nightmare. It's I'm two different people. I'm a father, I'm a normal lad. But then at the same time as well, I've had to become a certain person at certain times for my own.
Don't down, Moo. I'm not picking you up
Do you
again.
feel like you're some sort of prophet then?
I don't feel like I'm a prophet. No, not. I feel like
I don't mean religiously. I mean, I'm not saying, you've got Messiah complex. I'm saying that, do you feel you've got an important warning? You've got an important message. You're on the rampart. You've seen the danger coming, and you have to warn the people on the inside what's going on, and they don't want to hear it.
I realised in 2014 when I became a journalist, because you had to use to get people on the street, and that was the platform to talk to people, which is what we've done with the English Defence League. Yeah, and then I realised that we just need to be on these. Yeah. So, and then I also realised come 2014, remember, 6 Muslims have gone to jail for planning to kill us. They got caught with guns and bombs on the way to a demonstration. We've got through some pretty provocative street protests, which is what they were at the time, but it's what was needed at the time, if I'm honest. So it wasn't great. The English Defence League was for the brave and sometimes the stupid.
And the violent and the racist?
Yet, well, to say there wasn't racist in that movement would be a lie, yeah? But to say, but there's racists in the Metropolitan Police Force, it doesn't make it a racist institution, yeah?
And there's racism in jihadism.
There's golfers in the English Defence League, it's not a golf society. So, but we rooted out the racists every time. We rooted out the racists. But every time we were rooting out the racists, the media were telling racists it's a party for them. So we had this, and purity comes a time, it took us 2 years. I'd say we got to a point in 2 years in the English Defence League where we
Hello, man. Good to see you, mate.
They all set up their own group, so it was a constant battle. And all my time in the end, which is why I wanted to leave,
Lobo, I love Tommy Robinson.
was spent fighting elements within the English Defence League.
I don't love him, but you know what I mean.
Elements that wanted to manoeuvre and direct the English Defence League against all immigration. That was never my issue. My issue was Islam. And my issue was Islam because I'd grown up in Luton Town. And when you talk about profit, so I realised then what I need them to see is what I see. I need them to know what I know. So I know the problems in Luton. I've grown up with them. I know the dangers. I know the good and the bad. I remember sitting on the Kofi. Is it Kofi Annan? Is that the UN dude? So his speechwriter, who is a expert on multiculturalism. So I was debating him on Russia Today, I think. And as I'm debating him, I said, "So you're the expert on multiculturalism." I said, "Where did you grow up?" And he said, "Exeter." And I started laughing at 99.9% white Christian city. But you're the expert on multiculturalism. You don't know anything that you're talking about. You don't know because you haven't experienced it. Now, it's like reading a book on building a house and thinking you go build a house. Yeah, I've grown up in Luton Town. I've grown up in a town plagued with Islamic extremism problems. I've seen the good and the bad. I know some brilliant Muslims, as I said. I know Muslims that I love. Yeah, but per se, there's a massive problem, and I want the public who live in areas, say like you've got Luton here, you've got Hitchin there. Hitchin has no idea what this is like. I remember when I first come out of Luton, when I was like 18, 19, I'd never been out of Luton. I remember going to other towns and just being shocked, just thinking, "Oh wow!" Like, I thought everywhere was like Luton, and then I realised that the level of violence in Luton is not normal. I remember when I moved, there was a village, and I was in the gym in the village, and I was talking about my son at the time. I said, "Well, when he has a broken nose," and the kid in the gym said, "Well, when would he have a broken nose?" I said, "We're going to school." And he said, "Why would he have a broken nose at school?" I said, "I guess the kids will just fight with the other schools." He said, "Well, I've never seen a fight in my school." And I was like, "You've never seen a fight at your school?" He said, "I've never ever seen a fight." And I was just shocked. For me, I was just like, "What?" And then I realised as you grow up, you develop, and I realised that things that happen in Luton aren't normal. It's not normal. There's a massive level of violence, a massive level of hostility. Take Islam out of the problem. The town is in trouble. Yeah? There's 5 stabbings a week in Luton, every week. So what you grow up thinking is normal, it's not normal.
So you saw this because of Luton, and in a way you think it's spreading. I mean, it is spreading.
Luton's a blueprint.
Right. And for example, the terror attack at the Manchester synagogue on Yom Kippur, I think has been another wake-up moment for lots of Jewish people. I don't know if you saw that speech that David Lammy did to the Jewish community.
I saw him try and talk. I think it's absolute insult that he even showed up with his views. He is part of the problem. He's caused the hostility. Do you know when a lie is told 1,000 times? Yeah, like the English Defence League, for example. So every single English Defence League demonstration, every single one, a non-white person spoke. I made sure of it. A gay person spoke. Everyone. We had Tommy English, who was leader of the gay division. We had a gay division, a gay and lesbian division. We had a Sikh division, a Hindu division. We had divisions that suited my mindset, yeah, of how I've been brought up, and to welcome everybody into a movement that was opposed to Islam, which was our sole objective.
So I just want to pause you there because, I mean, we've moved off David Lammy. It doesn't matter. I want to ask you about Islam because this is the point. A movement against Islam. Now, there are some Jewish people I know, you know I'm Jewish, but there are some Jewish people I know who are terrified to hear when you say something like, I oppose Islam. And that's because in our history, we have people who opposed Judaism, who persecuted Jews and what have you. The point I think that many people were saying in Manchester to David Lammy, and generally in response to that horrible incident, that killing in the synagogue, is Jews don't do those things. Jews aren't blowing themselves up. Jews have integrated.
They're not praying in the Talmud whilst raping kids.
Right. So they're not praying in public in the street. They're not trying to push the religion itself. Its ethos is actually it's exclusive. It doesn't want you to convert. It makes it almost impossible, very hard to do it. Whereas Islam, by definition, I don't think it's controversial to say, is a religion that wants to recruit.
Yeah, conquest.
It wants to recruit everyone. So I'm curious. When did you first, can you remember in your mind when you first became aware of Islam?
Yeah, I can. And the point I was just going to make on David Lammy, just to make it, when you tell a lie 1,000 times, then people just take it as the truth. So many people right now in Britain and across the world, through a massive propaganda campaign, believe that Israel has committed genocide. They actually believe it. Yeah? The figures are fucking ridiculous. It's a joke. It's a joke if you actually look at the figures, look at the demographical change in Gaza. It's the only population in the world that's gone up by 10. Even the Muslim population, the Arab Muslim population in Israel, which people just don't have a clue. There's 2 million Muslims comfortably, happily living in Israel that are part of government, that are part of the judges, that are Supreme Court, but no one knows that, yeah? Because there is a mass campaign to tell everyone Israel's an apartheid state and there's genocide.
You know, when we're in Israel, I spend quite a bit of time there for work and also family. where every morning where I wake up near Jaffa, you hear the muezzin in the street. I don't hear that here. That Israel, Tel Aviv, there is the mosque down the road. Everyone is getting along fine there, and it's actually, I would say, more integrated.
So it works better than here. Like I went to Israel, and when I went to Israel,
2016, right?
2016, yeah, and I went there on a search mission because I thought I'd talk about these issues a lot. Yeah, what do I actually know? What? I haven't been to Israel, so when I went there, I went to a Fatah-controlled refugee camp in Bethlehem. So, and I risked my life doing that. It was pretty stupid, probably now I think about it. But I paid some young Muslims from in Israel that I met. I said, right, I want to get into the refugee camp. And I went with my friend from school. There's pictures of us. He's a black lad. There's pictures of us when they say I'm resigning this because I'm wearing the kippah near the Wailing Wall. But I'm with my mate. We're just my mate from school, and he liked history, yeah. And we grew up together. And so I said, come to Israel. And when we went to Israel, I was like, right, I've sorted it. We're going to go because you know when you go to Israel, there's do not go past here. There's all these big signs, the danger zones. Well, I just went and thought, I want to go there. I want to go in there and see what's going on. So I paid these young Muslims, went into, and as we're in the taxi, I'm sitting there, but me and my mate had a big argument because he pulled me up before it. He said, I didn't come here to get killed. What the fuck are you doing? He said, I'm coming here to see history, not go to a terrorist camp. I was like, but I said, mate, because we were doing the Jewish side. So I said, but we have to hear their side. Yeah. So if we get in there, and I did say to him at times, I said, Dean, if we get in there, yeah, and we spend a day there, it's going to be the best experience. Right? Trust me. Let's just go and try. And as we're doing it in the car, as we're driving in, I think, then I'm sitting there and I'm sending messages, I'm doing videos, thinking, what the fuck am I doing? What am I actually doing? Well, I met this 4th generation Muslim lad, and he was lovely, and I related with him more than I related with anyone I met on that trip. Yeah? You could have picked him up out of where he was and put him into Luton, and he was the same upbringing. We were the same. It seemed like we were the same. And as I'm walking around this refugee camp, I'm looking at all the sides of the houses saying, who's that? And he said, oh, she's a martyr. She blew up the bus. So what I couldn't believe was that each of these families, so she lived in that house. He lived in that house. He lived in that house. All the murals on the walls, the terrorists, martyrs as he called them, the terrorists lived in those houses. So then as I'm walking along, I'm thinking, right, I said, so who's oppressing you? Expecting Israel, the Palestinian Authority. This is what pisses me off about what our government just done. It's insane, yeah? But the Palestinian Authority.
Sending money to your loved ones overseas is quick and easy with Orbit Remit.
New restaurant's flat.
Are you on the show?
No, just go with sounds.
Care comes naturally at Hearing Australia. We offer expert advice and the right device for a fair price.
Hearing Australia.
Yeah, let's get saucy. Yeah, let's get saucy.
Hey, plumbing contractors, are you buried under business processes? Too many spreadsheets, too many tools,
So I said, what do you mean the Palestinian Authority? How are they oppressing you? He said, oh, never give, and this is a 4th generation Muslim, never give money to Free Palestine. Yeah? He said, it doesn't come to us. It goes for weapons. Yeah? And I'm standing there thinking, right. And then he said that, did you know, so the Palestinian Authority, so when this lady or this man leaves this camp and stabs an Israeli, that's what he said, and they get paid a lifelong money for the family. So every month they get money from the Palestinian Authority for the rest of their lives. So then I looked at my mate, and I'm thinking, I've got 3 kids, Dean's got kids. We always hear in the UK that the root to extremism is poverty.
You don't
I said, where's the football pitch here, bro? I said, there's no football pitch. I said, where's the park? He says, no park. And I was playing football with all the kids. There's videos of it. I'm playing football with the kids. We're just in the street. They're all running around. My heart bled for those kids, yeah? And I thought, well, I'm a dad. So the only way you get out of this camp, yeah, is if you go stab someone. That then you get rewarded by the Palestinian Authority.
Actually, I interviewed in an interview like this a brilliant woman called Anat Burko, who is a criminologist.
Welcome back, Phil.
Her career going into Israeli jails to meet terrorists who are in jail, failed suicide bombers or dispatchers, and so many of them
done it for this.
Actually go into jail to get a better education, because in the Israeli jails they can get high school, they can get degrees. And so she writes, she made quite good bonds with them. You know, she didn't befriend them, but she got their confidence. She talked with them, and it's really interesting. I'll send you the video because it's very interesting how she talks about it. So I think there is an element of wanting to escape from that.
But the only way you can escape is that, and when he said go stab an Israeli, then I said, so if you go stab a Jew, and he kept correcting me. He said, no, stab an Israeli. And I said, what do you mean stab an Israeli? So it doesn't matter if it's a Jew or a Muslim. I was like, what? So you can go and kill it, which is what they've done on October 7th. Bedians got killed. They just went on a massacre. But so I said, so you can leave this camp. And it just threw my whole head. Because I always thought it was jihad. I thought every element of it was jihad. But then I started looking at it thinking, well, these men are just mercenaries. These men are just being financially rewarded to go stab someone from Israel to get their family out of this poverty-stricken 4th, 5th generation. Like the lad said, I'm a 4th generation refugee. My children will be 5th, his will be 6th, theirs will be 7th. We're never leaving this camp. And he said, because it works, and it does work, because I left that camp wanting to give them money. Yeah? So he said they bring Western politicians here, they walk them around this place, they look at the oppression, yeah. But he didn't mention Israel once. All was about the Palestinian Authority. So then I went and started looking up the Palestinian Authority. Who funds the Palestinian Authority? We do, British taxpayers' money. I couldn't believe it. Who have we just recognised and devastated? We've just recognised the Palestinian state for the Palestinian Authority. So the people in charge of now the state that the British government recognise and fund are the people paying people to go and kill people. I just couldn't, you couldn't make it up. I went on this fact-finding mission to Israel. When I got back to Israel after this, I sat the gentleman down with cameras on him. I felt terrible, yeah? But I sat him down and said, can I tell you who I am? And he was like, what? And I said, have you heard of the English Defence League? He said, yeah. I said, so my name's Tommy. I'm founder of the English Defence League. And he was like, he was upset, visibly upset, but he said, why? Why would you have done this? I said, because I had to hear your story. I had to hear your story. And I wanted to hear your story. And then as I'm in Israel, so on the way back, we're going, there's 1,000 young Arabs, yeah? 1,000 young Arabs. There's someone with a Kalashnikov machine gun. I've got an I Love Israel t-shirt, yeah? So I said, pull over. And the Arabs are racing camels. So I said, pull over the car. So we pull over the car and I get out and I video and I think, why? Trump had just got elected, yeah? So I think, let's see, I'm thinking someone's going to go mad at me and say stuff about my t-shirt. I don't give a shit. No, I'm bad and eyelid. So as I went over and I'm talking to them all about Trump, they all love Trump, yeah? They said, America strong man, we need this is all the Muslims, we need America strong man. And then I'm asking them, and as we're doing this, there's Jewish families having a picnic, yeah? So there's 1,000 young Arab Muslim men and Jewish families having a picnic. You couldn't do that in London, okay? You couldn't visibly have Jewish families sitting having a picnic with 1,000 young Pakistani men, because that family will be getting shit, yeah? Now, that's a fact. Whereas in Israel, so I thought, well, this works better than in the UK.
I have to say, when I did go to your march here, I went very visibly as a Jew. It was on Saturday, and I went to pick up my press pass in the morning, and then I was planning to come back by about 2 when it was due to get started on the stage. But I realised when I got there, I'm not going to be able to leave and come back. I planned to go to synagogue. So I was dressed up for synagogue. I wore a suit, and we were both there, me and my husband. And he said, I'm going to wear my kippah at this march. And I said, don't do that. I said, let's just, low key. He said, no, I'm wearing it. And he put it on, and it's what you just said.
Lobo, the Christians pray for the Jews.
Nobody in that cared. And I've said it, the only abuse we actually got all day was on our way home when we walked past the anti-racist counter-protest. So, and I know from trying to go and cover anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian events here, I'm definitely uncomfortable in them, partly because they know who I am, a lot of them, and so it's an interesting dynamic. It's the same as you've just described in Israel, that you wore this I Love Israel t-shirt and what have you. Yeah, so let me ask, a lot of what you deal with, and you've written about it in your books, it's about us being lied to. You said, I've asked you why you think people are afraid of you now, and he said because they've been lied to. And about Israel, why people think there's a genocide, it's because they've been lied to, as the government have lied to them. The media.
They think Israel purposely blown up schools.
Well, they think that the war that's going on in Gaza is literally Israel attacking children and women, and that's it. They don't get to see any Hamas fighters or anything. But there's a lot of this idea that people are being manipulated. And so I do just want to ask you, a lot of people think that you're manipulating people, and that, 750,000, 3 million, whatever it is, came to your march, that you're manipulating them, or worse, other people are manipulating them with you, or are manipulating you to manipulate them. I'll give you an example. When I was at the march, there were a couple of bits that I didn't like, seeing as I got you here. I was a little bit uncomfortable with that Christian guy.
Yeah, the Christian hooligan.
And I'm very up for this country reconnecting with its Christian roots completely. As a Jew, I know I'm a minority here, and I'm very comfortable with the country's Christian background. But when he said he wants to ban all places of worship that aren't Christian, he wanted to ban halal food. And he listed a lot of different faiths. He didn't list Jews. And the guy actually saw us standing there and he tapped
I had no problems voting for him.
me on the shoulder. He goes, "Don't worry, not you guys." The guy kindly in the crowd. And we had a laugh, okay? But I'll be honest, I was very uncomfortable with that. What's going on with those guys?
So a few people have said exactly what you said to me. He spoke about temples, I believe. Did he? He spoke about temples. Now, they came to do the haka, and the leader of their group gave a speech.
The Kiwis, if they'd done the hacker.
It is a free speech festival. Yeah, it is a free speech festival. Do I want to ban temples? No. Okay, so there was 20 speakers, 25 speakers, with a variety of different opinions on many different issues. I asked a Muslim to speak that day. Yeah, I asked a brave. There's a do you know Lubna? I asked Lubna to come and talk on behalf of, as a British Muslim woman, give her speech. Now, if she gave her speech, it would have had lots of different things that I didn't agree with in that. So, yeah, if I could have wrote the Maori speech myself, I wouldn't have put in what he did. But it's a free speech festival.
Valentina Gomez?
I think Valentina Gomez is fair. I think she's brave. I think that she's purposely provocative. She's trying to. Do you know Salwan Mamika? No. So when I was in prison this time, Salwan was executed in Sweden. I run a website called salwan.com. I went and interviewed him and met him. Salwan was an Iraqi refugee. Now the point that Valentina is trying to prove is a point that Salwan wants to prove. Now Salwan saw his way of doing it was to come to Europe as a refugee, as an Iraqi Christian refugee, and try and warn Europe about what it's like in Iraq for Christians. Now he done it by provocatively setting fire to the Quran. Yeah? I wouldn't advise anyone to set fire to the Quran.
She got a flamethrower out.
I've seen. She looks great doing it as well. I'm sorry she did. I'm sorry. I saw her thinking, who's this beautiful woman with a flamethrower burning the Quran? Who is she?
A lot of people send me videos of Valentina Gomez because of what I write about.
I thought that's it, that she was speaking.
Yeah, no, I got that. And I was fascinated because I met her there backstage. She was there all day waiting for that speech she did at the end. But I get you, it's an act. She means it, but it's a persona, not just, I guess, Tommy Robinson is a persona. But when you can say someone has chosen to create a persona for a purpose, you then can absolutely blame them for what that persona is, because they've engineered it. It's not real. Like, for example, when I spoke to her backstage, she didn't sound half as Colombian as she does on stage. She sounded American to me.
Did she? Well, as I said, it's the first time I've met her, was at the event.
Who invited her?
She contacted me. She contacted me, and a lot of people wanted me to uninvite her. There was a big push to uninvite her, at which point I had a bit of a fallout within our own group. I said, it's a free speech event. I'm not going to tell someone what they can and can't say. Yeah? I said, like, it's a free speech event, but she can get up and talk. Like, she's coming. She's come from America. And at the same time, you have to understand that previously to her, Salwan Mamika, who became a friend of mine, was executed on a live stream video when I was recently in prison for setting fire to the Quran. Do I think you should set fire to the Quran? No.
Where was he executed?
In Sweden. The Iraqi government, the Turkish government, all wanted him dead. Yeah, no one's been prosecuted. They live streamed his execution. No one has been arrested.
And we got that case here where the guy burned the Quran outside,
and he stabbed him. The Turkish bloke stabbed him, and hasn't even gone to jail.
And meanwhile, Lucy Connolly, for a tweet that she deleted.
So what I mean is, someone like Valentina, who's brave, you have to say, people want to kill her.
Balls of steel.
So I respect her. Yeah, I respect her. So I respect. There's Muslims I respect, that I totally differentiate with and totally disagree with. But at least I think, well, at least he's telling us what he thinks. Yeah, rather than smiling like Sadiq Khan and thinking the same. Yeah, rather than being a smiling knife, he's just saying, yeah, we're gonna implement Islam on Britain.
And is that what you're doing?
Is what I'm doing.
You're saying what you think. You're being provocative.
I'm not provocative. I'm not provocative. I'm actually like, what's happened is I've stayed here saying the same thing at the same time. I got up the Quran in Rochdale, and I pulled up the Quran in Rochdale, and I pulled out a lighter this big, yeah? And everyone was cheering. And then I said, do you want me to tell you why I'm not going to burn it? Yeah? I said, I'm not going to burn it because of Abdul, because we had a Muslim follower who come everywhere. Because of Abdul. Simply
Sounds like it's a sect of Islam, boss.
because of Abdul, yeah? Because I love Abdul, and Abdul's a Muslim, yeah? That's why I'm not going to burn it. If I'm going to read it, yeah, I'm going to read it to you. And I read out the verses that it instructs its followers to take non-Muslim women as sexual slaves. It's the reason women were taken as sexual slaves on October 7th. It's the reason in each war, whether it be Boko Haram or ISIS, the Yazidi women, it's the reason that it happens, yeah? It's because the Quran permits it. I don't think we should be burning Qurans. I think we should be reading them. I think we should be educating ourselves on what's in them. I think we should be understanding them. Do you know, I sat down yesterday, I've done a live stream. I sat down with a French journalist. And again, I live streamed her. Only at the end did she realise, I felt really bad for her, yeah? At the end, yeah? You can watch it, it's an hour-long thing. And I sat down to her, I said, so let me understand this. I've looked you up. You're 10 million 10 million listeners. She's the biggest French radio. I said, your history as a journalist is you're an expert on terrorism. She said, yeah. I said, so you're the biggest expert in France on terrorism? She said, yeah. So I said, well, how many people were killed in Charlie Hebdo? How many people were killed? And I went through the terrorist attacks of France, Black Panther, Nice. I went through all these attacks. And then I said to her, so you specialise in understanding terrorism and jihad, and the majority of the terrorist attacks have been Islamic? She said, yes. I said, have you read the Quran? She just went, no. I said, you fucking failed in your basic dereliction of your duty. You're meant to be a journalist. And she had all this book full of stuff about me. I said, you've researched me, right? Because you come and sit down and interview me. You've done loads of research on me. That's all your research. I said, terrorism. Your job is to understand terrorism. All these men are doing it, and they're telling you why they're doing it, because of the Quran, and you haven't even looked at the Quran. I said, this is the problem. And here you are, you're about to write a big article about me. And then I asked her, are you going to call me far right? Well, yes. I said, so what makes me far right? She said, well, your views on Islam. I said, so if I had views against Christianity, would that make me far right? Then it was like a light bulb moment. But I said, wouldn't, would it? So, but I'm far right because I talk about Islam. So special protection is given to Islam. And why do we need to understand Islam? And why did the public, at this time, this discussion has to be had. Now, when I went on to Piers Morgan in 2017, it was the most watched episode of Good Morning Britain ever. Why is that? Because the public are demanding this conversation. As we see people getting massacred, as you've just seen the attack at a synagogue, yeah? As we see these attacks, which will intensify and continue, we've seen shopping centres attacked, we've seen the Ariana Grande concert, we've seen Westminster Bridge, we've seen the fertiliser, we've seen all these bomb plots, yeah? We've got to ask the question where it's coming from. But you're not even allowed to ask that question. So someone like Valentina is provocatively trying to bring the discussion to the Quran, yeah? Which is what Salman Amika done. And Salman Amika, unfortunately, rest in peace, I tried to save his life. I set up a website, tried to petition the Swedish government to protect this man.
So isn't it a shame then that in order to discuss this topic, this is what I suppose I'm getting at, people have to put themselves in extreme danger. Like Valentina is putting herself in extreme danger. And I'll tell you, for example, one of the things that upsets me, you know, she talks about gay people as faggots. She's she's against homosexuality, basically, which I suppose I can understand if she's a fundamentalist Christian. And I don't have to agree with everything someone says to agree with part of their message. But so for many people, though, they're looking at her and they're saying she's trying to raise awareness of this issue, and she's doing it in a most provocative way she can, which is upsetting to Abduls in her life. It is upsetting to gay people in her life. And at the same time, I agree with you. I found her a fascinating phenomenon. I mean, I took a selfie with her kind of ironically, but then we got chatting and I thought, actually, you seem quite a normal person. And I saw a completely different person on stage and in those videos. And I think the same it can't be said of you. I think when people see you in the interviews and when I'm meeting you here, you are basically an open book. You seem to say what you think. You say this, you've been very consistent with your messages as far as I followed you through the years on Jews, on Islam, on extremism. But isn't it a shame that these people are having to put themselves in extreme danger? Why is it?
They don't need to. You don't need to.
So you keep going to jail. It's not true. I mean, that's another kind of danger. You said what you put your mum through, what you put your dad through, what you put your kids through, what you put yourself through. You keep going to jail. You might be going back now. So
that's next week.
my point is, that's extreme. Why are you having to do all that? And you think it's so important that you're still doing it?
So essentially, even on the demonstrations now and our events,
I haven't read the Talmud, I must admit, Vast. Are they the 4 books? I've read it. No, I haven't read the Talmud. Read the Old Testament, but not the Talmud.
with the English Defence League, we had to take to the streets. We had to be loud. We had to. Who was going to talk to us? No one spoke to us. I tried to do a petition in Luton. I tried to petition the council to ban the extremists. We tried it all. They didn't listen. No one would talk to us. We tried to contact them. No one would even meet us. We had 500 men put balaclavas on and run through this town. World news. Yeah, that's the reality. World news. Now, that at that time brought issues to the top. Rape of children, grooming gangs. You probably still now would not even know the word grooming gangs if the English Defence League didn't form and behave the way it behaved. When 10,000 men are charging through the streets, it was pretty hard for them to ignore it. When we had banners and placards, our daughters are not allow me, and the world's media are watching. But again, you grow up and you learn. And then I remember the English Defence League. We'd done a homecoming in Luton, about 10,000 people, and then people were talking about another one in Luton. And I remember thinking, I don't want another march in Luton. I don't think Luton needs another march. Yeah, at the time, because I thought things were happening in Luton. People were listening. Yeah, at the time there was chaos going on as well. But I thought I'm a bit of a hypocrite, and we were provocatively choosing areas that had problems but had large Muslim communities. So then it's like as we moved on, which is why now you see where we do our demonstrations. Nowhere near a Muslim community. We don't want to be. And at the time with the English Defence League, our goal was to turn the Muslim community on the radicals. We ended up unifying them. We ended up giving the radicals something to stand for the rest of the Muslim community and say, look, so what's the future? What's the dream? What's the hope? If 10 years time, 5 years time, you're a strategic thinker. This is what I'm hearing here. You started, they were provocative, they were in the face of the problem to attract attention there. Now they're not. This is development. You've developed personally. You've learned. You appear to have taught yourself a huge amount about Islam, what geopolitics is. What's your goal in 5 years? Well, 2 years ago, when we sat down with this, we sat down and I sat and got a meeting together with Katie Hopkins, Lawrence Fox, Carl Benjamin, Mayor Toosey.
And can I just say, you've just listed some people there who lots of people find extreme or offensive or radical or just they're not conventional, right? And I'm not passing comment on them. I'm telling you what I hear people say.
That's because they don't know.
Yes, but it's also because they heard stuff they've said that they really didn't like, right?
Yep.
Again, those people, I would say, when you don't know someone and you meet them and they're nice in person, and then you hear them say something which makes people's, gets people's backs out. There's two things I want to ask you about that. One is that really effective in because you want to convince people? You're basically a politician now, whether you like it or not.
Well, it's been so.
Vast, I'll check that out. That looks interesting.
The idea was, we sat down in a room with 20 people, and we spent days and then months discussing. And the idea was that to bring these people together, who have all been isolated, right?
Yeah.
All been shadow banned, all been kept down, yeah, but have all been courageous enough to stand up and say what they think. Yeah? And the point was, when you get these people together, is we're not going to agree on anything. Yeah? We're not all going to agree on Israel, Palestine, on politics, on Islam, on every point. We're not going to agree. But what can we agree on? That was the point. So we wanted five points. Well, we started with 10. We wanted to just let's get 5 points. That all of us here, and we had young TikTokers, young Black Christian TikTokers, comedians. The idea was to bring all these people together, some celebrities, some boxers. This was the vision, yeah? Well, so let's all get together. We all understand here, British culture is a threat, yeah? Our culture's disappearing. We're not allowed to celebrate our identity. It's become cool to convert to Islam, yeah? It needs to be cool to be British. We need to change that. We need to inspire the youth to be excited about this, yeah? They need to be excited about it, and we need to be free to celebrate it. So you could start a political party, you need £100 million, and it'll take you 10 years, yeah? But if you can start a cultural revolution, which was the view,
jumping down.
if we can change the culture in Britain, we can change the politics anyway, yeah? And we'll change the culture quicker than we're going to change politics. So the idea was to bring all these people together, and then they've tried to censor us, they've tried to delete us. Elon Musk bought X, so we've all got a platform now. We can reach the public, and if we come together, the 20 of us, and we work together to target politicians that are attacking our culture, that are not standing up for free speech. So our points were free speech, British culture, identity to celebrate.
I'm going to watch that video you posted last.
Yeah, standing against sexual exploitation and the indoctrination of children through the education system. Now, if we agree on this, just this, then we can work together. I'm a journalist now. We have skills. All of us have skills. We can make skilled educational videos. And if we, all of us, share it at the same time on all of our platforms, we've got a bigger reach than the BBC, than any network. Yeah. So that was the goal. And we sat and had these meetings. Jordan Peterson flew in. I contacted Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson flew in because ARC is basically what they're doing with ARC, which any cultural revolution doesn't start from the top.
Yay, Diane!
That's what the Muslim Brotherhood did.
And we're the bottom. That's the reality. We're the bottom. Yeah. So our focus was to. I've organised 100 national demonstrations. I know now how you're infiltrated. I've watched it. I know how they provoke problems. I know how the media. I've seen it all throughout my time in the industry. I've seen the good, the bad. I've seen it all. Yeah, I've seen the infiltration. We're infiltrated by the BNP. We're infiltrated by Hope Not Hate. We're infiltrated by government, security companies from Holland infiltrated us. I've seen it all. After October 7th was a massive wake-up call for so many in this world. Yeah, the wake-up call was because so many Jewish organisations in the UK who condemned us for so many years, who would align themselves with certain Islamic groups, then saw all these Islamic groups calling for them to be obliterated off the face of the planet. It's like, where's your friends? Like, where's your friends? They're all marching for the river, screaming from the river to the sea. Yeah, they're not your friends. Okay, they're not your friends. We're your friends. We want you. Yeah. So I've watched all this. October 7th happens. I'm out in Spain, and I sat with Liam Tufts. I was in a bad place. I was deplatformed, censored, all these things. Elon Musk gives me back my page. I fly back to the UK. We organise this meeting, and we have a vision. And the vision is to celebrate British identity, yeah? Give people back that sense of community, because we've all lost it. We've all lost that brotherhood, sisterhood, togetherness. It's gone. Yeah, it's got, and it's purposely gone. The breakdown of the pubs, the breakdown of the family, the attack on community. Mass immigration comes in. You all spread out. You lose it. Yeah, I've watched it. I used to know every single person on every street in my town. Now I know no one in Luton. Yeah, we've all gone. So all of that, if we can give back that. So then we sat down and we had this meeting. As I said, Jordan Peterson come in. I just said, Jordan, all we're asking is watch what we're about to do. Yeah, I believe we're going to be successful because Britain needs it. We had our first event. We introduced celebration, music, art, which is exactly what you've just seen at this last one as well. Yeah. And to be honest, I looked at groups in Europe who don't focus on what you're against, but focus on what you're for. So stop focusing. We're not here to talk about Islam. We don't need to. Yeah? Most of the problems that happen in this country would never have been allowed to happen if we had pride in ourselves and pride in our country. If we had actually cared about our communities, this wouldn't happen. But we've all become so selfish and so caring about ourselves that we don't give a shit about everything else. So that was the idea. And when we had our first event, it was such a success.
For me, the most surprising thing about the event that I was at was that feeling in the air, was that there was it felt like a celebration of Britishness. Now, some people will say, well, it's not Britishness I want to be part of when I say that. But I think the point was it actually was quite diverse. The crowd was quite diverse. The views on stage were quite diverse, but at one end of the spectrum, let's be frank. But I did leave. I went with a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of fear, as I've told you. But I actually left feeling, well, that was quite a jolly event.
And that's how everyone would do.
Yeah. And I must say that to me was a very important thing to put across. I wrote about it and Trevor Phillips wrote about it. And then they had us both on Radio 4.
Trevor Phillips has been at everyone.
Right.
I've seen him pop up quietly, which is what a journalist should do. Yeah. I've seen him at each one.
What? No.
Basically, we've had him spotted at each one. He never spoke about some of the others, but he's been in them.
And that's my point. As a journalist, our job is, as a commentator, whatever we are, our job is to be there and observe what's going on. Even if it's something that we end up saying, actually, I didn't like that. Like I mentioned, I didn't like the Maori thing.
But the hacker was good.
But the hacker was great. And you know what? Again, let's actually go back to that, because that was one of the most...
So I used to go to the skating ring when I was like 12 and 13, because you'd meet the girls there at the skating rink.
Interesting moment of the event for me, because it crossed a lot of lines. So the bit we discussed already, then there was the flag whipping. Now, for me, again, you said you wouldn't burn a Quran.
It's fun, isn't it, Di?
Right, I wouldn't set fire to flags either. And because flags become very important symbols of people's identity. I mean, the British flag, the St. George's Cross, we're seeing all that at the moment. And actually, I find when I drive through areas at the moment with all the flags up, it's lovely. If you go to Israel, it's actually kind of a routine thing in Israel. There's loads of flags, left and right, unite behind that flag, and it's a symbol of a cultural unity.
Lucky we didn't meet each other, Di.
A historical unity, it's a national unity. And here, our own flag has become a symbol of racism. And even when the left now try to stand behind it, it feels very much a reaction and a fake to what's happening.
People wave their flags. You see the Labour Party there. It's so funny to watch. So just look at you.
And also, if you look back at all the Labour Party conferences for I don't know how many years, more than 2 years since October 7th, there were more Palestinian flags at Labour Party conferences and PLO flags they are actually. So the Palestine Liberation Organization, led by Yasser Arafat originally. So that the flag tearing though was fascinating to me because again it was a very deliberately provocative moment, and yet did I disagree with symbolically ripping apart certain ideologies that man and many people there felt were destroying our culture and in his view our Christian culture. I could understand why he did it, but I did think, God, if he ripped my flag, I would be furious.
But the flags it was a Muslim Brotherhood flag.
Yes, I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. And the Palestinian flag. Right. Now, so the Palestinian flag is the one that I want to get at. Like, I've got no warm feelings for that flag. It's the flag that they drove down shouting, F the Jews, rape their daughters, rape their mothers in this country.
No one will prosecute for that, yeah?
No, exactly. It's the flag that they used when they crossed over the border on October the 7th and did rape the Jews and kill them and their daughters and their mothers. So to me, that flag has...
Oh, Vast, that would have went down well with your classmates. Figure skating.
Very negative associations. But I recognise that to millions of people, that flag has completely different meaning. So again, I understand the need to be provocative and radical to lead a movement, but ripping flags...
Well, I had no idea that was going to happen on stage. I knew really. I swear to God, okay. But I thought it was brilliant. If I'm honest, once I saw the Muslim Brotherhood flag, I can't believe the Muslim Brotherhood operate in this country unchallenged. I can't believe Hizb ut-Tahrir. I can't believe it took until October 7th for Hizb ut-Tahrir to be prescribed. Why? Every single university across our country, every Islamic society is controlled by Hizb ut-Tahrir, which means we've had a terrorist organisation controlling every university.
But then we had a rally on the streets of London of Hizb ut-Tahrir calling for jihad,
and the police said it means something else.
Has lots of meaning.
It's a struggle.
And then
the terrorist organisations say it doesn't.
And a guy called Jihad went and killed Jews in a synagogue.
But these are all things that could have been preventable.
Exactly. Not to be glib about it. If people had listened to you, if people had listened to me, if people had listened to Douglas Murray, if people had listened earlier on, but to me, I always say that's our failing because we didn't wake people up enough. And do you feel that way?
No, people weren't ready. No, people weren't ready. Everything that's happened had to happen. Everything.
What more has to happen then?
A lot.
Tell me.
A lot, unfortunately. So no, we are now at a breaking point in the public opinion. Something huge has happened in the last 18 months. So as I said, October 7th happened, and I think the shock for a lot of people in the country. I've talked about two-tier policing. You can dig up my speeches and articles from 2004, because I've seen it. I know it.
You say they did it to you.
Yeah, they've done it to us. They've done it to all of us in League. They've done it to the non-Muslims. Yeah, Muslims are treated one way, non-Muslims are treated another. It's not black and white. Yeah, blacks they'll smash the shit out of the black. They don't care. They'll raid there, but they treat the Muslims very good. They're scared. Yeah, they're scared because of the organisation of the community, the way the community is together. They've got a lock on themselves, and they don't know how to deal with it. They can switch like that.
And it's the same in prison, right?
Oh, the prison's to control it. It's insane. If the public knew what's going on in those prisons, you'd be shitting yourself.
You were in solitary out of your choice?
Not my choice, though.
If you hadn't been in solitary, would you have been safe?
No.
Kirin Hieketsu, vodka, soda, and natural lemon juice. Born in Japan, now here in a can. Kirin Hieketsu. Hello, yes.
No, I'd be dead.
So what should they have done with you in jail?
They should have put me in jail.
Well, okay.
Civil offence. I should have gone to a DCAP, open prison. Where there was one called Britannia House with 40 prisoners, no Muslims. They could have put me there.
Why didn't they?
Because they wanted to put me on solitary confinement. Because they wanted to hold me. When I got into Wood Hill Prison for making a film. Yeah, I made a documentary. Do you know who signed me off on solitary confinement? Shabina Mahmood. She wrote it. She signed it off every 42 days because the prison aren't allowed to do it. We have the Mandela rule. It's 14 days of solitary confinement. After that point, you message your head. So they're not allowed to just hold you in solitary confinement. So actual Ilikwana, my granddad Balajo, none of them have been in solitary confinement. None of them.
Seriously.
None of them.
And you have.
And I was held in solitary confinement. I got brought into
The guy that knifed children.
The guy that knifed children.
The guy that beheaded.
You know the guy that knifed children? I landed in Belmarsh prison. I'm in Belmarsh. And this is why the Secretary of State put a banning order on any of my conversations mentioned in Southport. Yeah? The Secretary of State, they give me the black and white writing. Secretary of State signed it off. Yeah? And then they put me on the controlled visits where every second, so from the minute I went in jail, everything was recorded. From my phone, every time I picked up my phone, someone's waiting on the other end listening. So I could only have a phone call at a certain hour because someone's sitting there listening to my phone call.
Do they cut you off?
Yeah, they cut it off all the time. They cut it off all the time.
What you said?
Because of what? Sometimes because of what I said. Sometimes they just cut you off just to take a piss. So sometimes they just don't turn the phone on. I wait all day. So, and you know, if you're sitting there waiting, I'm waiting to ring my kids. I'm panicking anyway. You're on solitary confinement. You've got a lot of time. You're just sitting there. And then I get my phone's meant to turn on at 6 o'clock. So they just don't turn it on. I'm ready to lose your head. And I think I'm waiting to ring my kids. I want to know my kids are all right. I just want to check in with the kids. But on the whole solitary confinement thing, they brought me in there, and for making a documentary,
Diane, I'm laughing hard at these, so it's funny, isn't it?
I made a film.
Was it contempt of court?
It was contempt of court because they gave me an injunction preventing the public from ever seeing the evidence. Now the film, I have to be careful what I say here because I'll be straight back in jail.
Well, don't then. I want to ask you though, because it's something people, when I haven't told anyone.
I purposely released the film once.
No, I know that. So you intentionally broke the law.
Yeah.
And you knew that what the consequences could be, right? So that I would say again,
Old Lobo's got a sharp tongue. I'll give him that.
People who like you or don't like you need to recognise that certainly for your convictions, you're an extremely principled and brave person. They might disagree with your views.
Well, you have to understand that the attack and the weaponisation of the court system and the judiciary that's gone on to me. Yeah, obviously I'm very upset about it. I'm upset about what they've done to my life, what they've done to my family, about all of it. So whilst I'm very principled, I'm also very bitter. Yeah? And so when it comes to that film, I knew that I had evidence that would show the public they're fucking lying. Yeah? Here you go, watch it. They're lying. Yeah, and I knew, and I had a vision that the damage that could do, because this was far bigger than Tommy Robinson. Yeah, because anyone who stands up, this is what you face, not just against Islam. Yeah, so the weaponisation, you could be an animal rights activist. They're coming for you. Yeah? They don't like anyone who brings people together, anyone who is a strong activist, anyone who can galvanise the public. You know, they've just seen 1 million people turn up in London. They're going to want to finish me. I know they are. They're going to never want anyone having the power to bring people together like that. They've purposely orchestrated and controlled media.
I'm sick of picking you up now, I'm telling you.
So that's what Manifesto is about, right? Your last book, 2024, Manifesto. Now, again, it surprised me a bit because it's quite a conspiracy theory, basically.
But it's not. It's conspiracy theory backed up by the evidence with all the footnotes to show you where they're saying it.
Again, I don't want to tell people what they should or shouldn't think about it. They should read it. But what I'm saying is, can you understand that people say the same thing about you? That you are a tool of Elon Musk, for example.
Oh, I see that I'm a tool of Israel.
Yes. So they say these things like that you're a tool of Israel, or that Elon Musk is bankrolling you, or that Elon Musk connected with Donald Trump has a plan to interfere in British politics. They might want to take over all of the NHS so that US health companies. I've heard every kind of conspiracy theory on that side. But I'm trying to say that as somebody that can see it the other way, can you understand how both sides can have their own theories?
Oh yeah, mate. Have you seen Wassim Kempston? Oh God, let me show you this. Because then you understand how. Do you know since COVID was such a dangerous position for this country because no one believes anything. No one believes anything. Once you saw the government lie, once you saw them lie about the vaccine, once you saw them lie about lockdowns, once you saw them lie about all of it, then the trust in government has gone. The trust in government and trust in media. If you look at the statistics for how people think about media, Britain is at an all-time low. Not the communist countries, the former communist countries. British public do not trust the media. So we could have a deadly virus.
Vas is metric as well.
Next week. Everyone's like, fuck off. Fuck off, you're lying.
So I hear what you're saying, which is when people realise they've been lied to about one thing,
they believe nothing.
And that's quite dangerous because is it the case that they've definitely been lied to about everything, or could they just have been lied to because of that?
Because you can find things like this. Wassim Kempston, have a look at this. Oh, look, this is insane.
I'll tell you what, on an academic level, I love conspiracy theories because they're very compelling and engaging.
Right, two people. That's me. That's Weston Kempson. That's the imam from London, yeah?
Speak about on Twitter.
But that's me, isn't it? Look, watch.
Or they think you're an imam.
They think I'm the same person. But but I thought that was me. My mum thought that was me. So that Muslim,
What you look like when you came out of prison.
I had to find the look, it's the same person, right?
Who is that then?
That's the little imam in London. He's actually 6'2", so I'll take that. But but look, it's basically this conspiracy theorist is saying that I'm an actor for the government.
But I don't want to get stuck on this one. Like, what I'm trying to say is that the way that you write in manifesto that there are people, there's this 1%, they're trying to take control over everything for personal economic gain. This is what the book says.
Yep, well, they are.
And then there are people who don't even know that they're being used to perpetuate that.
Maybe. And maybe I fell into that.
Maybe. No, I know that's not you. You hang out with some pretty powerful, rich, influential people now, or have contact with them. I mean, I saw you have a 20-minute conversation with Elon Musk.
That was good, wasn't it? Right. I was like, Mum, I just interviewed Elon Musk, man.
But a lot of people are terrified of Elon Musk. This guy, this billionaire, interfering in British politics, etc., etc. Other people say he's a hero for it. He's given freedom of speech, and they want him to come here and do that. But at the end of the day, can you understand how people who don't agree with him, whether you agree with them or not, say he's a billionaire? What's he got to do with us? He shouldn't be buying influence in the UK, and you're a tool of his, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, I understand all different people who buy into all the different conspiracies because I hear so many people don't think I was even in jail. I think I was in Tel Aviv. It's mental. It's mental. John O'Looney has got quite a big platform. He's one of the main
Coronation Street.
people during the COVID thing done a video saying I come out of a town. He went in jail, and people believe that. They actually believe that. Like it's so. And then even with Elon, I just think Elon cared about free speech. It's as simple as that. Remember, America's view on free speech is a different world to our view. Yeah? They believe in total free speech.
Last someone picking you up. Come on.
Our leaders hate free speech. They want to control everything.
Come on, I'm getting sick of this.
Everything.
Better 10th time I picked you up.
Now, the
enough,
hate speech
all
rules
right.
they're brought in, they're not to
Freaking hell, enough, dog.
They're used to control the native population to be silent whilst they're destroying our country, basically. Because if the actual hate speech was being used, how many imams have called for jihad and holy war against Jews since October 7th in mosques in the UK? What, have they been put in prison? Have they been prosecuted? It just doesn't happen.
I mean, I say that all the time. If they applied the law evenly to, Talk TV did that montage.
The undercover stuff, yeah.
And it's not even undercover because lots of them, they live stream them or put them up themselves online and they just put them together and put them on television, I think. I mean, I've seen all those speeches before. So not all those exact ones, but
they don't face any prosecution.
Right. And then we know that people do for tweets that were considered.
I got nicked 2 months ago for fuck Hamas.
Right.
Fuck Hamas. I got arrested and questioned over 3 tweets. And I just sat there like, are you for real? Is this for real? You're actually doing this? Like, fuck Hamas? Yeah, fuck Hamas. Well, but again, it takes, like with my film, when I released that film, I was shitting myself. And it ate me up for 3 years not releasing it. So I had to release it because it was ruining me. It was destroying me. Because I knew I had a hand grenade that I wanted to throw back at them. And that I thought if the public get to see this, they're going to see and question. The reason why I had 1 million people on the streets of London was a multitude of things. From COVID, Lucy Connolly, me being locked up, my film Silence, everyone who watched it, Charlie Kirk, October 7th. All of these things, unfortunately, had to happen. Lucy Connolly had to be locked up, okay, for the public to see the injustice.
And now you think people are seeing it. But you said so much more is going to have to happen too. And I fear that you might be right, because I think people are waking up very slowly. It's like when someone's in a really deep sleep and you rouse them a bit and then they go back to sleep. What's the future that you're hoping for your children?
I'm terrified for my children. I have been for, when people talk about, and I used to have this conversation with his wife, I know what the future is. I know what's coming. I know it. So, and I understand that Britain's broken. I understand that the future is going to be that devastating for us as a nation and for the next generation. And this is what I always say, is like, for me just bury my head and pretend it's not happening. And in 20 years' time, my son's going to have to pick up the fight. If someone's going to fight, I'll fight. I don't want him to fight. I'll fight. Because what's happening every bit, we have to stop this. Britain's at a crossroads now. We are at a point of no turning back, and we either beat it now or we lose everything.
And we're at that crossroads, or have we gone
It's
down?
there now.
We haven't gone down one of the roads wrong.
I think he's 100% correct. You're on the brink now, England. What do you think, Labour? You're a POM.
We're there now. And you know what? I've been smiling a lot for the last 12 months because since we formed this, seeing the scenes on September 13th, the country's ready.
Okay, so crossroads. One way lies.
Destruction of Britain, our identity, our culture. If they continue to control through fear the public from speaking their mind, we're finished.
And what's the other way?
The other way is an uprising and a patriotic cultural revolution in Britain, which we're already seeing.
Peaceful?
Peaceful. Has to be peaceful. If we want...
Mas, I'm not sure how much it is. I forget the imperial system. I was mainly brought up on the metric system. So whatever 85 kilos is, 75 used to be 12 stone. I got 10 kilos more, so I don't know.
To win, which is the purpose, we need to win the hearts and minds of the public. We need to win the hearts and minds of the police. We need to win the hearts and minds of politicians. Politicians who had negative opinions of us need to understand what we're fighting for. And many of them have been scared. And
Diane, I learnt to get the guitar to woo the girls.
when you put 1 million people on the street like we did last week, when you do that, you will give courage to those politicians. More people will find courage. More people will speak up. They'll realise that it's acceptable to feel proud. It's acceptable to speak up. And the whole thing shifted. Even if you look at Reform and look at where they've gone from no mass deportations to mass deportations, they're changing like the wind, yeah? And they're changing to try and keep up with the mood of the country because the country's swinging. And that swing, I always said,
Every store needs a vibe. Music gets your business moving. Soundtrack, music streaming for business.
Let's talk about investing better. Whether it's investing better in your time or in life's little luxuries. When it comes to investing your money better, switch to CanStar's Broker of the Year. Invest better with CMC Invest.
Breakfast convenient. All Carmen's granola.
for the last 15 years.
I hope I got two brains when I only had one. I got in a lot of trouble with it. Yeah, let's just say I got in a lot of trouble.
And it happens. And none of us know what it's going to be. The defining moment in Northern Ireland's history was Bloody Sunday. Yeah? No one knew that was coming. No one knew that would change the direction of that battle and that conflict. Who knows what's going to be the moment that's going to change the direction of not just Britain, okay, because this is the whole of Europe. It's every Western nation.
Yeah.
We are stuck, scared, intimidated through tyranny, yeah, where no one's speaking. Everyone's looking around their towns, like looking at their towns, thinking, what the hell is happening? Who are these people? Who are these migrants coming in? Rape, murder, terrorism. Everyone knows it's wrong. Everyone knows it's wrong. But everyone's been too conditioned that you can't say it's wrong. And not just because you can't be proud of Britain. You can't say, hold on, this isn't.
Gee, he makes sense, doesn't he, guys? He impresses me so much how he protects England.
Somalia. This isn't Pakistan. It's Great Britain. Yeah? You can go back to Somalia. You can go back to Pakistan. We've got nowhere to go. We've got nowhere to go. If we lose this, where are we going? When we become a minority, are there going to be minority rights for us? And anyone who's got any sort of brain just looks at history, studies Islam, studies conquest, studies where Islam's come into a country as a minority. Look at Lebanon, look at Iran, look at any of these nations. What happens then to the minorities? What's it like for minorities in Afghanistan and Pakistan?
I mean, it's interesting because I mentioned Dr. Anat Burko before, and she said something very smart.
Okay, that's good news, Var. So long as I wasn't 120, because that's what on the back of comic books, the 120-pound kid that gets bullied and he gets into a muscle machine. I don't know if you've ever seen them comics.
Well, to me, which I believe the Supreme Court Justice in Israel may have said, I'm trying to remember who said it, the majority need protecting from the minority in a democracy. And a lot of people don't think about that. They in fact, it seems that we've gone the other way around because in our democracy, we've made it very important that minorities should enjoy the freedoms to do what they need to do, to an extent that it became very difficult to criticize a minority for things that were unacceptable, incompatible. Is that really the problem we're facing?
Well, when you actually think about it and say it out loud, we had a generation of our daughters raped with our full knowledge of our government, police, social services, every institution that was there to protect them, let it happen because they were scared.
Is it still happening?
Yeah, it's still happening every town city.
London?
Everywhere, yeah. To pretend there's not been a grooming scandal in London. It's like, you know, when you go through the figures, the 85 figures, the 85 cities, Luton's not one of them. When we talk about the grooming scandal, it's like, do you know how many children I know? Do you know how many girls I went to school with? I had a cousin. Do you know how many people I know that were victims of these gangs? I know the gangs. I know who the gangs are.
That's why you became interested in all this, right?
Yeah, because my cousin was a victim of the rape gang. I named the rape gangs. I named their gang in Luton. I know them all. I personally know them. Yeah, I grew up with them. I battled them for years.
So when we go down, if let's say we win, that's what you're saying. You win, we turn the tide, right?
Turn the tide, give everyone, which we've done successfully at United Kingdom. And did you see the 2 videos of the Muslim girls who went to United Kingdom? They had a lovely time. Yeah. Do you know what? And I'm not. And sometimes I speak very strongly, yeah, in my opposition of Islam. I try to, for anyone that can't do this, it's like Muslims are people. If you hate on Muslims, that's bad. Yeah? And some great Muslims, some brilliant Muslims, yeah. But if you hate on Muslims, it's bad. But we have to examine Islam because most Muslims don't follow Islam. Most Muslims are just cultural Muslims, born a Muslim. If I go down to the betting shop down there now, it's going to be full of Muslims. Yeah, it's going to be full of Muslims. If I go to the pubs, they're full of Muslims. So most Muslims aren't following Islam, but they still, because of the ideology, they still defend it, even when they don't know what they're defending. They're still ready to go to war for it. It's like such a powerful idea. It's such a powerful idea. And do you know what it does, which is why so many are converting to it, which is why it needs to be stemmed, is it gives the sense of identity. It's strong. It's not weak.
So you want to give an alternative. That's what I'm understanding here. An alternative sense of identity.
British identity, United Kingdom.
But what is that? So here's in 5 or 10 years' time,
our next event,
yeah,
will be bigger than the last one. It will be.
I'm not thinking about the next event. I want to talk about way past that.
Yeah.
When you have done the job you need to do, or your movement has done the job it needs to do, what does Britain look like? What I just want a Britain where
exactly how are they going to get rid of in England? It's too late. There's millions of Muslims. How are they going to get rid of them? They haven't got Trump's backbone at sending them all back to South America. So how's this going to end? They're not going to go anywhere. So they're going to be complete clashes of civilization because there's nowhere for them to go.
British people are put first. And that's it. Just British people are put first.
Who are those British people?
It's not white people. It's British people.
Right. Does it include me?
Of course it includes you, yeah.
Does it include Muslim?
Of course it includes Muslims. British Muslims, yeah. British Muslims. Not Muslims who have just landed off from Afghanistan, yeah. Not the 200,000 who we just brought in, who simply shouldn't be here. Yeah? We have to have a limit. We have to have some addressing of some form of remigration, because there's 1 million people illegally in this country, yeah, who just shouldn't be here. And unless you address it, the demographical change to this country. Again, we should be encouraging families through tax breaks to have children, rather than importing all these people. Like Germany said, we imported 1 million Syrians because of the low birth rate of Germans. Why don't you just cut the taxes? You have 2 kids, 3 kids, less tax, less tax, less tax. Encourage German families, encourage British families. Make it easier to be a
sick
family.
of picking you
Hungary.
up. I really am. Stop getting down.
Hungary reward you for children. They reward the family unit. Instead of rewarding the family unit in Britain and in the West, we've been attacking it and destroying it. And when you attack it and destroy it, what does it lead children to turn to? Poverty, gangs, crime, criminality. All of these problems come from the loss, I'd say, in the core foundations of Great Britain, which were Christian. Family, they've broke everything.
I've got a Mitsubishi. I can't spell it, but I've got a Mitsubishi, 10 years old.
They've intentionally broke everything as well.
Who's they?
Who's they? I'd say the 1%.
And who's the 1%?
Who's the corporations? Right now, look at BlackRock. So Keir Starmer floods the country. He's had about 10 meetings with BlackRock. He floods the country. BlackRock are about to invest £1.4 billion in the private housing market in the UK. So BlackRock are going to come in. All these migrants are in hotels where Serco, BlackRock owns part of Serco, where they're all profiting off these migrants. So it's a business. It's a massive business, and it bullshits the fake money bubble, the money bubble as well. It's all bullshit. So as they're flooding the country, Serco are about to buy 1.4 billion pounds worth of houses, and they're going to make them in HMOs.
Can I ask you, like, because this stuff sounds a bit nuts to me.
Right, it's all, they don't want you live in a beautiful home here. They want you living in a bedroom. They want you living in a bedroom.
But so that's what I'm trying to say here is this is where you start losing me. And I'm not saying maybe you're right, maybe you're not.
Yeah.
This sounds to me a bit nuts, right? And so something that is a massive conspiracy against us would sound nuts, I grant you. But do you worry you're a bit all over the place with some of this?
No. Well, I am all I go off on different tangents, but it's a fact now. BlackRock are about to spend 1.4 billion pounds in the British House.
How do you know this, by the way?
I've looked it up. I look it all up. I go down. I just sit diving. Some rabbit holes.
Last, it's cultural jihad. That's one of their orders as well. Not violent jihad, cultural. They come in and take over the culture of the countries. And aren't they doing just that in Europe and England?
Yeah, but the internet can take you down some very dark places that aren't true.
Yeah, but it is true. It's BlackRock's investment in the British housing market. Now, they're taking the models out of hotels. Labour, we're going to get them all out of hotels. Where are they putting them?
One in, one out, right?
We're going to get rid of one for France, yeah? But where are they putting them? They're going to put them in HMOs next door to you. They're going to buy the house like this. They're going to turn this into what? 4 or 5 bedrooms? And this is what they're doing. And then you're going to have 4 or 5 men living next door to you from Afghanistan.
So remigration then. So some of that will be...
I just think that 40,000 terrorists on the watch list.
Yeah.
12,000 foreign prisoners in prison. 1 million illegals here. Donald Trump stemmed it by 95%.
Wow, 12,000 foreigners in the British jails. Wow. I wonder what the percentage is for whites.
We can't do that yet, though. Well, because we can't do executive orders, can we? We can't have someone come in.
But this is why the problem has to get that bad, yeah? Because for a mandate, for reform to have a mandate, yeah, an actual mandate to come in and solve these problems, the British public have to be ready for the laws to be introduced that are going to solve these problems. And for the British public to be ready, they've gone a long way in the last 18 months. Yeah, they've got now mass deportations is common practice, and people are saying it. Yeah? But there's going to be a lot more murder, a lot more.
Lobo, so your boiler's blown, and you blame Jesus. That sounds like more like you should have looked after it a bit better.
But then what the government want to do at the same time as that is bring in digital ID. 20% of this country voted for the Labour government, and they're about to enforce 100% of the people to have a digital ID.
Well, that's just how governments work, isn't it? I mean, what's wrong with digital IDs?
What's wrong with
Yeah, I know, mate.
What's wrong with it? I can't open a bank account now.
Last, unless you get blasphemous, you're allowed to say what you want here. It's free speech.
Before they digitalise everything, they come and close me down at every avenue. From MailChimp to PayPal to Stripe, boom, blocked me off everything. Yeah, that's now. So when you look in China, which is
right, I'm not picking you back up, Moo.
Politicians, you had Angela Rayner, they all aspire for us to be like China. Well, in China, when you go against the government, you can't even get on a bus. So when everything's controlled under one digital wallet, yeah, which is
China's got prison detention camps full of Christians, full of Muslims. They put, because they're an atheist country, China, so they're putting all the religious people in the, like, concentration camps.
To tax everything, to see every penny of every bit. It was only just because of Apple, because of Donald Trump, that they didn't get in the back end of these. Why do they want to get in the back end of
Well,
these?
they're still trying, aren't they?
They're still trying now. I'm on a terrorism charge next week. I face prison next week because the police wanted access to my phone. They wanted. I'll show you this. So so I'm a journalist, and not one journalist has spoke up for me on this. Not one single journalist has spoke up for me. I'm scared now. I don't want to get in trouble if they obtain that information because I have kids.
This is a source of yours.
A source of my information. Yeah.
And you don't want to open your phone for them.
So when the police asked me for access to my phone, I said, I'm a journalist. I've got my source of information on this phone. You're not having it. The reason why you're not having it is when I sat this one girl down, she told me things like this on camera. She said, I'm going to tell you something now, but you can never share this with anyone. Yeah, it's very private and very personal. I'm going to tell you something. And she told me something which I've never been able to talk about. Yeah. I said, okay. Well, they're not having that. So, and when they're like, and I said, in Rotherham, in Rochdale, in Telford, in Oldham, you, the police, were getting rid of evidence and working for the gangs. Fact, yeah? You want to take my phone and put it into which system? That who reads, yeah? That has what information on it? It's not happening.
And the right that they claimed was because they arrested you under the Terrorism Act.
Yeah, when they arrested me, so they detained me under the Terrorism Act. I don't know how many people know this, but our government, this is what they do. They flood through all these new laws after every terrorist attack, or like digital ID, they flood it all through. And then they use it and weaponize it against you. Yeah, so if you go through a border, a border or an airport, you have no right to remain silent, and you have to give them your passcodes. They don't need an offence.
Is that where they?
So they stopped me at Felixstowe the day after our 100,000 in.
Trust isn't built overnight. It's built with every moment. Your pets trust you for a lifetime of love, and also protection from fleas, worms, and heartworm disease. Advocate, trusted to protect dogs and cats since 2004.
Oh, come on. Enough of this. Stay up here or go outside.
Judo Bank to me, it feels like a partnership. They listen to our business and what we're thinking.
And you know what they said to me? We detain you under the Terrorism Act. I went, you fucking what? And then they said, no, calm down, Tom. We know you're not a terrorist. They actually said that. We know you're not a terrorist. But this allows us to do this. I said, well, and then when they sat me down for interview, for a 6-hour interview, it's insane. Yeah, it's all going to come out next week in court.
Are you expecting to win?
No, it's a judge. It's no jury.
Are you expecting to go back in jail?
Probably. What can I do? So, but then it's like, when he interviewed me, his first words were, what's your opinion of Britain? I said, it's a totalitarian shithole. And he's like, what? I said, well, you just told me, no, I'm not a terrorist, but here you are. You've got me in a position where I have to answer every one of your questions or I get charged under the Terrorism Act. It's not a free country. It's just not a free country. I'm a journalist. You're invading my rights.
Will your kids still be here in 20 years' time?
Oh, horrible question.
I don't know. I don't know. I'll be happy if I'm alive in 20 years' time. I can't believe I made 40. I'm shocked I made 40. I never thought I made 40. In those early years of the EDL, once there was terrorist plots, I guess I felt like I was walking around with a terminal illness. And even now, if I was a jihadi, I'm coming for me.
And it didn't stop you?
No.
Vas, I'm concerned about that AI Atlas. I think there's more of that than they let on.
Why?
Because I know the future. I can see it. I know what's coming.
Yeah, Lobo, none of us got the job either, mate.
Coming. And it's not just devastating for my kids. It's devastating for every kid. It's devastating for the whole of Great Britain. And I'm quite a deep thinker. There's 1,000 years of history in this country. 1,000 years. You have to go back. When you go back and start looking at the history of our country, and then you look, I just dug up on my great-granddad. 12 years old, he signed up for war. At 12. At 12. Yeah? So when I look and think what we all give, what all previous generations have given, and then I look at what they've done to this country in 60 or 70 years, it's insane. We have destroyed, you have absolutely destroyed Great Britain in 70 years. And you see, if we don't do anything, it's not going to be recognisable. The greatest, most beautiful civilization in the world, it's going to be gone. And we're going backwards. We're not going forwards. Are we getting more freedom? No. We're going backwards.
It's one of the oldest civilizations. You've got to give it that.
We're getting more violent, more criminality, more hostility, more destruction, more terrorism, more rape every year.
So you want people to have more children. Why should they do that in this world?
Why should they?
Yeah. You just described apocalypse. Why would you want to bring kids into that?
Yeah, that's what many people say as well. Well, I think that we just have to rebuild community. We have to rebuild the sense of identity and community, the British identity that made us the best country in the world. But do you know what? We all have, I believe, what you saw on 13th September is something that I believe when I looked at what happened in Poland and I was looking at all these things, when I went to Ireland, I've done a documentary called Plantation 2, Rise of the Celts. I flew out there at the start of the migration crisis and I was inspired. I was pretty defeated here, felt defeated. Went there and saw the mums. My mum's, you met my mum, she's 4'11", little Paddy, but my mum's a fierce Irish woman. So I knew, don't fuck around with the Irish mums, because my mum's one of 8 children and all of her sisters are just, don't fuck with Irish women. But I saw the Irish women and it inspired me. And then I thought, I don't want to be looking at other countries getting excited about what the elections are going like in France or in Holland or these countries. We need to be the inspiration in Britain.
When you look at Israel, for example, that it has a very high birth rate, not just because of religious people and Arabs. Generally, people haven't.
Shingles are caused by the measles, aren't they?
A lot of kids, despite the fact of all the problems they have and the war and stuff like that, because I think that they have a very optimistic and driven, ideological, united kind of national identity, even with all the divisions within society and politics. And so I see what you're saying, that's kind of missing here. A lot of Jewish people.
Oh, chicken pox.
Tons of them write to me.
Lobo, when I was a kid, we all got chicken pox, we all got glandular fever, we all got the measles, we all got glandular fever. That was just a natural process, and we vaccinated ourselves then. So all these vaxxers are crap.
Talk to me, phone me, because of what I did. They say, yeah, we're our kids can't see them living here. I'm going to move so that their life will be better. But where are the Brits?
They're leaving now, aren't they? They're going to Dubai. Loads of my mates. Dubai, Thailand, Portugal, Spain. But we shouldn't have to be running.
Yes, fast it is. It's related to liver. Yep.
Away. Why are we having to run away? Why are, I looked at a Jewish lad who put up the other day that he's emigrating, leaving. So the top earners, the top taxpayers, they're all leaving. And what are we replacing them with? The dog shit of fucking the Middle East, basically. It's not like to replace. Like, I look at Pakistanis in America, yeah? It's been pretty successful immigration policy for them, yeah? Because the Pakistanis they brought pretty much are from the capital. They're not tribal. They're educated.
Lobo, they're not deadly viruses, chickenpox and measles and that. It's all a scare campaign. They make a lot of money off the vaxxers.
They're wealthy.
Kids naturally catch measles. They naturally catch the flu. They naturally catch chickenpox. And the whole herd's inoculated because of it.
Because of their immigration system. We get the fucking half end of Kashmir. Just chaos. Just tribal absolute degenerates. And then our towns are flooded with it.
Do you ever think like maybe you're your own worst enemy in some of the ways you say things and do stuff?
I'm very blunt.
Yeah, no, I get it. But as somebody who's an influencer, a thought leader, you're a uniter. You can bring thousands, millions of people together. And then it's so strange for me because I'm having a great conversation with you, and I had a generally quite fascinating and positive experience at the rally. And then I talk to other people, or I write something that's just not negative about you, never mind anything else. Yes, and it's like it's like I throw a grenade at my best friend.
But your best friends will come round. Trust me, doesn't matter. They'll all come round. My whole inbox is full of people who hated me. So now they've woke up.
And none of it's because of what you're doing.
No, some people don't. The truth hurts some people. If you accept the truth, if these people accept what we're saying, yeah, then what are they going to do about it?
So what, they're shooting the messenger, basically?
Yeah, because they don't want to accept it. What are you going to do about it? If you accept, we've got 4 million people here who follow a prophet who calls for murder, rape, and torture, yeah, and are not going to integrate or assimilate. It's just not going to happen, okay? Because it's never happened. It's never happened. There's not one success story in the planet, on our planet, where it's happened successfully. Where's the beautiful success story of Islam peacefully integrating and assimilating? Doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. So if we accept that, which if the government actually just accept it, what are you going to do about it? It's a daunting thing. And it's a terrifying thing. And I understand why people come out and defend, because they see some great Muslims and they think they're trying. I think most liberals are lovely, great people. Naive and stupid. Don't get the reality of the world, but decent, loving people. But they just don't get it. I think, no, you don't understand it. You have not been brought up. You don't know what it's going to be like. I know what it's going to be like because I've gone to school in Luton. I've grown up. I've seen it. Yeah, I've experienced it. I'm not saying every Muslim is bad. I'm just saying it's not going to work.
Well, I get a lot of that from people that they say, these conversations, these podcasts I do, why don't you talk to people who you don't agree with? I get a lot. And I do, by the way, talk to loads of people I don't agree with. And also, very few people I agree with totally on everything. But I've spoken with Muslims, I've spoken with Jews, I've spoken
What? What's what?
with Christians. And for me, the whole point is, even when I speak to moderate or reforming voices in Islam, who I want to give any support I can to, because of the things I know that
What did you say?
the scariest parts of Islam have done to our society in the West, and particularly to Jews, but also to Britons, to Westerners, to Europeans, to liberals, to gays, to women, all of it, to other Muslims who aren't measuring up enough. I always say, I will support them as much as I can, but if this was an investment with money,
I'll put my money up.
I wouldn't put my money on it going up, because the chance
Solve this problem. How many Muslims? Across the UK?
only Muslims can solve this problem, surely.
No.
You can't reform Islam.
No, I don't need to reform it. We need to stop it. We need to stop.
You want to stop all
I'll
of
stop the progression, the spread of Sharia, the dominance of Islam in this country. We need to stop it. We need to limit it. It has to happen. We can't look. Do you know how many Muslims reported on other Muslims for the rapes? Bearing in mind, we know 1,400 children raped just in Rotherham, 1,000 children raped just in Telford. 20% of the Muslim men in Telford were involved in the rape. These are police figures all across our whole country. Do you know how many Muslims went to court or went to the police and gave evidence against their fellow Muslims who were raping? Not one. Not one. So they're not going to stop it. Okay? They don't give a shit. Right? They're not going to stop it.
But again, you told me earlier that you regretted that thing you said with the EDL. All Muslims.
I'm saying that they will not turn. 66% of British Muslims will not report on other Muslims that are joining ISIS. 66%. Right? This is a massive problem. 1.2 million Muslims in Britain want Sharia law. These are massive problems.
If I'm understanding what you're saying, this comes from a vacuum in our society where there isn't enough British identity and culture. So if we can bolster that, make it positive, it will draw people towards that rather than towards what you see as destructive. Yeah, fastest growing religion in the country now, fastest growing religion in prison, fastest growing religion in the world, maybe.
Yeah, they're bullying everyone in prison. If we dealt with the problem, Muslim jails, non-Muslim jails, but they won't deal with it. They won't.
Let's face it, you take these guys on in England and it's going to be a proper civil war. So, and I'm on our side, of course, but yeah, the Muslims have got nowhere to go. They've got to fight back once these guys rise up.
Protect the vulnerable non-Muslims from getting bullied, battered, intimidated, hurt and converted. They just won't do it because they're too scared to admit the problem. Admit the problem, okay? You need a Muslim jail and you need a non-Muslim jail.
Yeah.
How have you got terrorists next to car thieves? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. They control every single prison like a mafia. No one can fuck with them. They control it through fear and violence. What other religion can control the jail through fear and violence?
To me, again, this is another thing you talk about a lot in your work and in your books, self-censorship, right? So there's censorship you talked about. You said they cancelled you on all these platforms.
People just go,
but there's self-censorship, which is much bigger. And that's the one I get. People say, oh, you're so brave for saying this stuff. And I think, not really brave. I'm talking about very urgent things. You're talking about very urgent things. It's terrifying if we don't talk about it.
But that self-censorship's breaking.
Right. And people are self-censoring because they are afraid of being killed. You said you thought you're supposed to make 40.
I don't blame people for being afraid. I don't blame. Do you know I wore a mask and used a fake name? Because I was the same as you. I didn't want to talk about this. I had 2 successful companies. I had a young family. And I wanted to talk about it, so I used a fake name. I didn't want to lose everything. I didn't want to walk the walk that I have to walk for talking about these issues. So I don't blame people who are sitting at home, but they don't need to talk about it now because there's such a groundswell of movement. Do you know this was a lonely place 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Look how many people now talk about this issue. As I said, people will be inspired to have these discussions. The more people will do it, the more acceptable it is. The less risk it is on certain individuals. Because more people, as I said, I haven't changed my opinion. Yeah, I'm actually here now. There's so many people extreme. I'm not extreme. There's so many more extremists out there now talking with all platforms everywhere saying far worse than what I've ever said. And I've not changed myself once. When I sat down with Constantine for their podcast, I said, I haven't changed, lads. Yous have changed. Yeah, yous have gone on a journey. I'm in the same place that I was in 20 years ago, saying exactly the same thing that I was saying 20 years ago. The public have shifted.
You've changed how you've said it, though. You've changed where you've said it. You've gone less provocative because you said more people have come over, right? Yep. So what could you do now to go that next step?
I want to be a unifying figure. I want to unify people and unite people.
So what can you change about yourself to do that?
I don't want to. Do you know when Lars Hedegaard? So Lars Hedegaard was the Danish Free Press Society. He was a very famous left-wing journalist. Do you know his story in Denmark? That is a real staunch, like, communist. And then he woke up to Islam. Yeah, and then he lived under threat, and they tried to kill him. Now, Lars, when I set up the English Defence League, I got contacted by Lars, who was a very academic gentleman, who said, "Can I come and spend some time here?" And he come and spent a week, and he travelled with us to English Defence League meetings. And at the end of the week, he said, and he was a real educated, he was like a philosopher on everything. Yeah, look him up, right? And he said, "Can I give you some advice to me?" I said, "What?" He said, "Never put on a suit and don't change." That's what you mean. He said, "Don't change, never change." He said, "Don't ever try and change. Just be you." Yeah. And he told me that. And when I went to, and then I got invited to Danish Parliament, and Lars was on the front row, and I was in a suit. And I said, "Lars," I said, "I know you said don't put on a suit, but I'm in Danish Parliament, yeah." But the point is, I don't want to change who I am. I speak the way I speak. I am who I am. And people have said to me, "If you do this different, if you do that different," I said, "If I do that different and do this different, I'm not me." And the people, what reason why people are turning up is because they look and think, "Well, he's us, just a normal bloke, just saying exactly what he thinks." So at least, like with Donald Trump, when he says something, you know he means it. If I say something, you know I mean it.
But you want to become the best version of you.
I do, of course.
And we all grow as humans over our life. You know, you're in your 40s, you're different from when you're in your 20s. You drink less.
If I could have my way again, my solution, which would be more my advice to all young men, is put down the drink and get in the gym. And every one of us should be doing that. Why don't our government encourage that?
I used to love the gym.
Mental health, I never found a solution until I started exercising, and I still don't. No one can master everything, but it's a solution to all your problems. Nature is a solution.
So what's changing to make you the best version of Stephen?
What's changing?
Lars, you know it's Canada and Australia that ended World War One. It's us two that ended World War One under Australian general.
Yes. Remember, starting the English Defence League, some people described it as a drinking club with a website at the time. It was fun. It was a party. It wasn't that serious. Now it's serious. And the reason for me it's serious, which sometimes my biggest fear is letting everyone know, because I know who I am. No. I just think I'm going to get in more scrapes. Why? Because I have to walk the streets. I don't have protection. I'm in central London now. I've just walked down this road. When I walk out of here, something might happen. Like, and people say Olympic, and then what happened at St Pancras scared the hell out of me, but also was a wake-up call to me that,
just to recap, so what happened at St Pancras is people said you knocked out this guy, and there was this little clip of the CCTV that showed him knocked out and you were there. But the reality was, and you said the police dropped the charges, they came and arrested you.
I don't know why they arrested me.
And then they said, actually, the CCTV shows that you defended yourself against this.
I was a victim, I was confronted, I was harassed, I was followed.
Or did you headbutt him?
No, I punched him. And I was so worried. I was waiting, and I know myself, and I was questioning myself then, because I've come out of jail in a pretty my level of emotion high. I guess after 7 months, I've come out sitting in a room for 7 months to bang straight out, and then I started questioning myself, thinking, have I just lost my head? Like at the time, if someone confronted me and I've lost my head, I thought I know I wouldn't do that in my head. But over those 4 days, whilst I was waiting to see the police, I was panicking. But then when I watched the video footage, like the whole time I'm going backwards. And even when I hit him, I'm going backwards. I'm trying to get away from him. And in the end, I have to hit.
And they accepted that?
Yeah, they accepted. I was the victim. I was the victim. He didn't even want to press charges.
Did you press charges?
No. But one witness, you know, the terrifying thing is, a witness that gave an interview in a newspaper who says I was the aggressor. Yeah. So, and the police, when they stopped the tape afterwards, so the police, I was terrified. Yeah. GBH Section 18, it's 15 years. The man had blood clot in his brain. Wasn't in a good way. I was so scared. Yeah. And I'm thinking they're going to get rid of CCTV. I don't know what's going to be on CCTV. I know that he's followed me for a long time. I know that I warned him. I drew a line. I said, come back over there again. I'm going to have to defend myself. Stay away from there. Don't go over that line, mate. Please, I'm warning you. Don't do it. And then I walked away again, and then he come after me again. But I don't know what's going to be on camera until I get into the interview. And when I got into the interview, and the police officer, I got down to a meeting with my solicitor, and my solicitor said, the police are being really nice. She said, like, it's pretty weird. I said, no. And then the 2 cops come in, and when they played the video, I sat there and I was panicking like this, just watching, thinking, please be on camera, please be on camera. And then when I watch it, I'm thinking, how the hell haven't I hit him already? How the hell have I let him do this? He's in my face for 5 minutes.
So why did they bring you in?
The media, the headlines. They made it look like I killed someone. There was forensic tapes and everything, wasn't it? And then the headlines made it look like I was the aggressor. When I sat in the interview then, but I've looked at the two coppers and the copper winked at me. Because he could see then I was just like, oh my God, I can't get done for that. No, I know I can't get done for that. There's no better case of self-defense than when you watch that. But obviously the headlines went bad. But for me, a great moment for me, I didn't mention anything for 4 days. And do you know how many people now, I don't have to mention anything, the public come to my defence. The public who have watched all my stories know who I am. The public are like, I know who he is. He ain't just going to beat someone up. There's a great feeling for me.
You do all this stuff and you have become sort of lightning rods for this feeling. Like people
Good.
focus on you because you are bringing them this message.
Truth.
Do you ever worry about your ego?
Yeah. There was a time I was surrounded by people who told me my shit didn't stink. But the English Defence League, I was fucking a nightmare. Total nightmare. Only when I went into jail in 2000, I can't remember what year, I'd done 22 weeks of solitary confinement. It's a real moment for me to sit and think about what I was doing. I was we were in the back of a lorry, 50 of us, on the way to paedophiles' houses. Well, I was self-radicalising, getting to a blow-up point. So I had lots of moments, yeah.
So, you stood on that stage. I saw the enormous pride and you had this, deservedly, you'd organised this incredible event, whether people, again, agree with you or disagree with you, that you had pulled off something extraordinary weeks after coming out of jail from a very challenging position. It's easy as you become famous. You've been famous your whole adult life. It goes to your head, doesn't it?
No, it can. Of course it can, yeah. Of course it can. And you can, I guess, my thing was, for me, people say, oh, if people are taking a picture, I say, it used to be a punch on the nose. So I'm happy.
No, he's right. We don't tell lies here.
I'm happy. And I'm happy that people finally, which I guess my mum's happy, is that people are seeing who I am, not who they're saying I am. Remember, they've created this caricature of me. And I haven't helped myself, and I don't claim to be anything I'm not. But I'm sitting here now, so I'm not perfect.
So have you bought tickets to your own show?
What's that mean?
Well, are you buying into Tommy Robinson? Is Stephen of Tommy Robinson?
No, I'm certainly going to enjoy the fact that people now know who I am, not who they say I am. I get a buzz. Do you want to spoke at Oxford University, 2014 or 15?
They were nicer to you than they were to me.
Were they? Because you're Jewish.
I got a hell of abuse.
Did you?
Yeah.
So what's sad state of affairs, man? What about this new chairman? They're fucking mental. Meant to be producing our country's future leaders. Now, when I got invited there, for me, it was a massive place. From the streets of Luton Town, which is where we were, with a load of young men, I'm talking to the future leaders of the country here. That's how I viewed it. And I concentrated. And when I walked in there, everyone hated me. Everyone hated me. Everyone hated me. No one shook my hand. No one was nice to me. By the end of the speech, which was an hour and 15 minutes, everyone was asking for photos. And I thought, this is what they can't allow. And from that point then, I had Edinburgh University cancelled, York University cancelled. So I had all these universities lined up to go and discuss where people could actually listen to what I'm saying. They can't allow people to hear long form conversations like this. Yeah, this is the last thing they've wanted. People will watch this and they might think, I don't agree with him on that thing, but he actually seems like just a normal bloke. Yeah, they don't want that. They want people to think you're a Nazi, horrible, racist, extremist, full of hate. And it's just not true. It's just not true. So am I buying tickets for my own show? I enjoy all the people that have been, you hear my story. Everyone knows my story. Do you know how many people like me there are? Do you know I had school teachers crying when we had the English Defence League with Luke?
Diane, the only time I used to lie when I was younger is to pull a rort or get out of trouble. Right now, like at my age now, I don't tell lies. There's no benefit to telling lies. You're just being a dickhead.
In their jobs. I've had to see so many families who have lost everything. People who have, not just me, so many people. You get to hear my story. I'm in a fortunate position. People support me. So even when I've gone to jail, my family are all right. People support my family. Ezra and Amanda set up a trust for my kids. I'm in a better position than many who have tried to stand up and speak, whether that be on COVID vaccines. And I think with COVID, people didn't mind them censoring me on Islam, but then they started censoring doctors, nurses, professors. And then it woke a lot of people up. They just want total control over how you think, and they tell you what to think about who. And I guess many Jews right now are experiencing what we've experienced. The way Israel has been betrayed and the way Jews have been betrayed is unfair. I follow it all, yeah, total bullshit. But that's what I faced. And not just I'd say working class Britons face that. Working class men and women who are in towns plagued by these problems, who have tried to speak out, have been unfairly demonised and slandered and attacked.
Lobo, I was diagnosed with manic bipolar back in 2016. As soon as I turned Christian, I was spiritually attacked, but I wasn't aware that could happen. So I ended up in a psych ward, and they ended up putting me on manic bipolar Seroquel.
And they're decent people.
So one of the things that a lot of Jewish people say to me about you, and more broadly, to make it less personal, the right/far right, these are the terms that I'll put on it, is
Everyone says convenience is complicated. Clever says bullshit.
Let's catch up. Virus, come back, come back.
Breakfast can be all Carmen's granola.
Wow, Di.
just because he agrees with us on Israel now, they'll come for us next.
Boring. It's so boring.
It is, right? So what do you want? What do you want them to hear? Because this is what I'm trying to say to you. I recognise that you've told me in this whole conversation.
Damn, were you allowed to go out and play as a kid?
Fascinating conversation. That part of what you're doing is leading people. You know,
I'd say that if you're Jewish, it doesn't matter to me. If you're Sikh, it doesn't matter to me. I think Sikhs, personally, are the best migration. I've had an amazing relationship. During last week, I don't know if you know, a Sikh woman was raped in the Midlands by two white men who made the rape about her being a migrant. That's fucking unheard of. So where we're going now,
anti-migration guys
raped a Sikh woman. Raped a British Sikh woman.
So it's what I want to say though, because I've got this voice in my head of these people. They'll say, you did that.
No, see, yeah, but I'll do the opposite to that. Yeah? The United Kingdom's doing the opposite to that. I went and had a meeting with Sikhs. I met with main Sikh groups. I spoke to that family when this attack happened. I spoke to the mum when this attack happened to say it's outrageous. Yeah, it's a day where the country's going. Where the country's going needs to go, but we're also heading into a dangerous time when people are turning their anger against open borders that could be turned against innocent migrant communities. That's a reality. Yeah, and it's growing, and I'm watching it grow. Whether it be anti-Jewish, there's massive anti-Jewish sentiment, but there's a large ethno-nationalist movement that's growing. And the ethno-nationalist movement that's growing would say everyone who's not
Wow, Di, that's pretty strict.
white needs to migrate and go back. Yeah? And that's growing. Now, I want to do my part to play my role as a unifier to unify.
We had one house in a neighbourhood that you never saw anyone in, but I saw the daughter at school and they were Muslims. I didn't understand that at the time. I remember her name was Yasna Ufard. So, yeah, we didn't know who was in there because the parents were so strict.
By every community in Britain to say that many of these migrant communities, Sikhs especially, which I've had a great relationship with, have come here. They love Britain. They've embraced Britain. They're not declared war on it.
So for all your Britishness and your emphasis on Britishness, you are not an ethno-nationalist.
No, I'm not there first. I'm from Luton Town. I'm from Luton Town. You line up my 30 mates, we're all different shades and all different colours. Yeah, and I've had this argument with ethno-nationalists for years. Ethno-nationalists hate me. I'm a race trader. I'm a Zionist. I'm a multiculturalist. You know when we talk about multiculturalism, which again I think is a weak, cowardly way of addressing the issue. Angela
and Diane, God love them, but knowing the people like Kenneth Copeland or Jesse Duplantis, your parents, weren't they?
Merkel, David Cameron, they all said multiculturalism's failed. No, Islam's failed. Just tell the fucking truth. Stop bullshitting everyone. Right? No, that's true. Well, the Sikhs haven't failed. The Jews haven't failed. The Hindus haven't failed. My solution mates haven't
Amen,
failed. My
Vas.
mates haven't failed.
Amen,
we
bro.
will get on. We work. Islam's failed. You're blaming everyone. Just like you blamed everyone with the Asian grooming gangs, Muslim grooming gangs. Yeah? Predominantly Pakistani, but Muslim. Right? Address the issue. So when you're talking about multiculturalism, well, if we took Islam out of Britain now, Yeah, if it wasn't here, we wouldn't be sitting having this discussion. There wouldn't have been a million people on the street. There would not have been an attack on British culture. There wouldn't have been a loss of identity. None of these things would have happened. Islam is the problem.
I asked you earlier, I don't think you answered it. When did you first become aware of Islam?
After the Beslan School massacre. Beslan School massacre, and I can still see it, and it was a real light bulb moment for me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Islam that I've become aware of. I've become aware of the groups, the terrorist groups. So some people don't understand, and I'm sorry to the Jewish community, he's coming to your school. Yeah, that's coming. They're going to do a school. It's going to happen. Yeah, they're going to hit a school. That's what's going to happen.
Well, you know what I have to say? I put up a thing on X the other day after this attack on Yom Kippur. I just had this flashback. You know, I've done hundreds, thousands of interviews over the years. Just remembered sitting in Sky News Centre. I just had a bit more hair up here and a bit less here. And they said it was the hypercache attack in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
The Paris supermarket. Yeah. And I sat there and I just remembered this interview out of nowhere. It came to my head saying Jews are a target for Islamic terrorism. This is not surprising. It's a question of when it's going to happen in Britain or if it's going to happen. And I went and found it and I posted it again. It was 10 years ago. And I remember at the time, lots of people told me, you're alarmist. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, because like I said to you, I considered to myself, yes, maybe we need to go through all this stuff. But I thought to myself, I failed. Because I didn't.
Why should we wait for a school to be here?
Right. So I agree with you. There will be a school. Right, school next. So you said you were.
Wow.
I'm really drilling down. I know when my.
Wow, Di, the beatings. My brother beat me up so bad and so often that he was sent to live with my grandfather when he was like 13. He used to bash the hell out of me. So I know what you mean there.
My first awareness of Islam, literally. I remember when the first time I can remember knowing there was a thing called Islam.
Well, it wasn't at school. It was Pakistanis. They were very different, culturally different, aggressive, violent. Weren't about Islam when we were at school. Really, didn't have much knowledge of Islam. Then Beslan school massacre happened, which is, so people understand, terrorists in Chechnya took over a school. The parents come outside the school. I can still see it. Think about this. How
old were you?
I was 20. I was 19. And I watched it, and then I saw the parents on their knees as their children are getting butchered and killed inside. And I thought about, like, when I saw it, I thought, that's not one man. That's not a madman. There's a group of them. What brings a group of men together to do that to kids? And then I looked 2 weeks later and saw a group in Luton Town Centre in a chicken shop doing a video on YouTube. And they said that an attack on a British school would be justified. And the man's name was Saiful Islam. And that's when I went head to head with them. I looked at them and thought, so I was a young man full of testosterone. I went to football. And I saw Luton as our town. I'm pretty tribal. I was tribal at school, tribal about my country, tribal about my town. Well, who the fuck is he?
I'm pretty tribal.
Who are these lot? Who the hell are these lot? Yeah, and then I looked them up and found out that their group name was Al Mujahideen. That Omar Bakri and Abu Hamza, the biggest terrorist network in the world, their head office was in my town on the road. So we went to shut it down. And then we went to target the group. And we sort of clashed as young football hooligans. We targeted the terrorists. Just thought, get them off the streets. Like they're taking the piss. That was my wake-up call to the groups. When I was in jail in 2011, a Muslim outreach group sent me...
Di, at least your father saw the error of his ways.
In the Quran. Worst idea, lads. Yeah? But they sent me in the Quran to try and convert me with a letter saying, Tommy, find Islam. So I took the Quran. I thought, well, let's try and make sense of this book. Yeah? I've got 22 weeks, sitting in the room all day. And I challenge anyone to do this. Take the book and just make references of when it tells you not to be friends with Christians or Jews. Just do that. And I had pages. Just pages. And then it all fell into place like a jigsaw. Everything just fell into place. I just went, fucking hell. The school playgrounds. The Muslims not integrating. It's this. It's all this. This instruction manual from this high is not letting them. And then I went down the rabbit hole on the Quran. And then when I come out, I try to make it sense because then I realised, well, one thing Muhammad says one day is next to something he says 20 years later. It's an encrypted book. That doesn't make sense. Then I started looking at William Gladstone and Churchill, and the Quran back then was in chronological order. So you were able to make sense of it.
And that's why you made
That's why we made the chronological Quran. Because if people understand that in Islam, abrogation, do you know who just done it? Hamza Yusuf. He just done it yesterday. Hamza Yusuf, after the terrorist attack in Manchester, come out and said, in the Quran, it says, if you kill one man, you kill all of humanity. It's like, yeah. You carry on reading that verse. That's 532. Carry on reading that verse, and then it says, unless they cause mischief, and then you can execute them. Yeah? Now, mischief, according to Ibn Kathir. So I went down a rabbit hole, just didn't stop reading.
The biography of Muhammad's life. Anyone needs to do this. It's a very big book by Ibn Kathir. Yeah? It's the biography of Muhammad's life. It's insane. So this isn't what Tommy Robinson says Muhammad done. Muhammad beheaded 600 Jews in one day. When you see them, and they're doing it now, Qayuba, Qayuba, all the Muslims are chanting on the streets of Britain. They're calling for the beheading of Jews. Yeah. And then I looked at Sophia. This is just insane. I found it so fucking mental that their Jesus would behead 600 people in one day. And then it all just started making sense. They had 600 people in one day. And after torturing Kinana, the leader of the Jewish tribe, he set fire to his stomach, took all his gold. He's a pirate. The dude was a pirate. Yeah? Robbed him. After doing that night, he married his wife, Sophia, the Jewish. So when I meet Muslims, I say, well, how did he meet Sophia? Just tell me, how did your prophet, peace-loving prophet, how did he meet Sophia? Well, he butchered and beheaded her husband and then raped her that night. That's insane. That's insane that we have 4 million people in Great Britain who believe this man was morally perfect. Isn't it?
He's right. It is insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's just insane. And the fact that we're not allowed to have a discussion about the teachings of Muhammad and who Muhammad was, I think if everyone needs to understand who Muhammad was. Muhammad, if he was alive today, would be doing about 100 life sentences. That's it.
Only if you wrote something on it.
Jesus, yeah, that's it. Jesus said turn the other cheek. Muhammad said behead him. That's the reality. So, but all of that was my wake-up call. So I knew the gangs, I knew the problems. I'd seen it all my life. I knew the rapes. Then I went down the rabbit hole.
But did you know Islam at all before? Did you have Muslim friends?
I had Muslim friends, yeah, but I didn't know anything about Muhammad.
No.
Neither did they.
Okay.
Neither did they. That's what's mad. I then sat down with Muslim lads, even on my recent court case, imprisonment. One of my good mates, he's doing 24 years. And the imam come to my cell. And for 2 days, I'm on solitary confinement. And the imam opens up and says, I won't say his name. He says, thing he sends his love. I went, is he here? He goes, yeah, he's on whatever wing. I said, fucking hell, man. Tell him I said I love him. Because I'd spoke to him just 2 years before when he was in another prison. He just got 24 years for a lot of crime. But we all have friends who do. Like, again, I don't judge my friends on the life, on the choices they've taken. But so when I sat down next to him in court 15 years ago, at the start of the EDL, he sat down and he said, I don't think it's as bad as what you say. I said, you don't think, God. But then I don't blame Muslims for this.
So then he read it?
They hadn't read it. That's the problem. Like, when I actually started talking to him about it, he didn't know anything. And the more Muslims, I've done interviews with Muslims and said, do you know this? And they're just like, but then I think, well, I might class myself as a Christian, or may have done. I don't know every verse in the Bible. I don't know everything Jesus done.
Are you a Christian?
I am now,
yeah. Yeah. Did you connect with it more in jail?
Do you know what's important, I think, to connect with Christianity is to connect with someone teaching. That's what I felt was important. And the priests are so out of touch. The reason why the churches are empty, they are not relatable. No, the imams are. The imam who come to my cell was a lad. He's a geezer. Yeah, he's wearing Stone Island. He's talking.
Diane, did your parents have a denomination?
That's the imams. The imams are at a street level, and they're connecting. Now the pastor in who was an Asian lad as well in Wood Hill, I thought was brilliant. I thought was real, lived a normal life.
But your family didn't grow up
I grew up as Catholic.
Observant, church going.
No, I hated the Catholic Church over the whole Peter thing. I despised it.
No, but so you exactly got
Pentecostal
here in Islam, but it's today.
They're the Catholic Church. Yeah, but my mum isn't.
Diane, they're the speaking in tongues guys, aren't they? The Pentecostals.
Devout Catholic. So my mum is a real staunch Catholic. Yeah. But then when I went to jail, the more I've seen
music gets your business moving. Start playing at soundtrack.io.
What do you do when you're not spinning? I'm a school principal. Not at East Charlton Primary. Yeah. What are the chances? We're actually trying to get our daughter into that school. We're just a little outside the catchment area. Is there anything you could do?
She said, is there anything you could do?
Oh, I just... Oh. It's not my regular bike.
Know the homes in a school catchment. Domain. Know what we know.
Club Marine's been built around being there for the moments that matter.
What if you could clean your retainer at the touch of a button? No more brushing or tablets. Over 4 years ago, our team of engineers knew there had to be a quicker.
An attack on Christianity. The Paris Olympics opening ceremony. The more I see them attack it and take the word Christ out of things, and then I started looking, thinking, well, what built Britain? What made this the best civilization in the world? It's Christian belief. It's come from Christianity. And then I can believe when I went through the Bible, because I've done Bible studies this time when I was in jail. Literally everything's from the Bible. Literally every saying, every phrase. As I'm going through it, I'm thinking, that's from the Bible, that's from the Bible, that's all the different things. And then I think that unless we get back, so even if you don't agree in Christianity or believe in Christianity, then the ethos or the 10 commandments of Christian life, it's a good foundation for society. It's about love, it's about forgiveness. It's a good starting point.
And you know what I want to say, because actually that I thought about this a bit after I went to the United Kingdom event, and there was a lot more Christianity there than I'd expected, and I just found that very, very interesting, good and bad as we discussed. But I thought to myself, actually, it was a very interesting moment for me, because I've thought a lot about unassimilated immigration in the UK and people who didn't adapt to become British. And the Jewish immigration story is really a successful one, as you said, that many Jews, immigrated and became very British.
And they're proud to be British.
Yeah, exactly. And, we say a prayer in synagogue every Saturday for the king and royal family. And that we sing God Save the King every given opportunity. I mean, when you go to like a bar mitzvah, half the time in the old days at least, they used to do like a toast to the king at the end of the event. It's a random thing. Brits don't even do generally. But I thought to myself, since October the 7th, there's been a sort of resurgence in Jews identifying with their Judaism. And a lot of that has been channeled into religiousness. And I think that sometimes that we go through a crisis. I wonder what you think of this. We go through a crisis as people in our society and in the time we're in, where we feel there's something missing in our culture, and we search for it. And what we come back to, because again, when people hear you saying that you studied Bible in prison, etc., I can hear eyes rolling. Oh my God, he's got Jesus, right? That's what I can hear people thinking. Some people, and I wonder why in Britain that's such.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed of that.
No, and you shouldn't be. What I'm saying is, so many people, it's about religion, and they would say that about the march and the event as well. I think that there's an awakening in all of our cultures of people looking back to where those values that we thought automatic come from.
Amen.
And they aren't automatic. They came, as you said, for you from Christianity. And you know where your 10 commandments came from? They were ours. So they came from Judaism. And the point is that those fundamentals, not killing, not stealing, not murdering, I should say, not stealing, those automatics were not automatic when the 10 commandments were given. That's why they were given, because they were basic principles for human behavior. And it seems to me that the rediscovery of Christianity among, let's say, your movement and among Jewish communities, people going back to synagogues, I'm going back to synagogue much more often than I used to. It's fascinating. And did you ever think there would be this religious element to what you're doing?
No, never. And I felt it. Do you know, I felt something very, Christ is King, 100,000 people, Trafalgar Square. I just looked around, what is happening? And I let a priest get up and talk, and I never was going to let a priest get up and talk. And I wanted a priest to start it because it was the day after the Paris Olympics. I was so pissed off with what they'd done. I was so outraged. And then there was a priest there. I said, get up and talk. And I let him get up and talk. And I think that masculine Christianity is coming back. Not a weak, pathetic. Christianity isn't weak. It's never been, we wouldn't still be here if it was weak. Yeah? But it's become weak. The church has become weak. The church has become disaffected from the community. And if you look at the figures, which has been real interesting to see, young men are finding church. And I think that the reason Jews are doing it and Christians are doing it is because when you're at risk, when you realise your culture identity is at risk, you look and search for a belonging, a belief, and people are finding it in Christianity. I think there's a Christian revival happening right now in Great Britain. It's going to happen across the West. People are searching. And for me to say that, because I was never religious, in fact, I thought it was bullshit. I struggled with it. I still struggled. Do you know when I was in jail, what I said is, I don't want to ever stand like I'm preaching to people unless I know every aspect of Jesus' life. Which is why, for me, I need to know everything.
You probably knew more about Islam.
I did. I knew everything about Islam and Muhammad. I didn't know anything about Jesus. I never picked up a point. Never. So for me, even and I've said this, so I don't want to preach, and I don't, and unless I know everything, that's how I am, and I don't want to. I like to be versed in everything, and I don't know everything yet.
Thanks, Lobo. See you tomorrow, mate. Same bat channel, same bat time.
But I do believe that there is a Christian revival happening, and I think that there is a masculine form of Christianity that's going to rise. It's going to be detached from the church. Yeah, do you know who?
And it's going to be we type of Christians that are going to be masculine.
Well, do you know what I love? I love black churches. I love the gospel. I love seeing the. I used to watch some pastors now in America. Just think, see, I'd follow him. I ain't following him. I follow him. I follow that. I follow that. And I said to my pastor, the first thing I asked my pastor when in prison, I said, when Jesus said turn the other cheek, what did he mean? And he said, he meant hit me like a man. And I went, yeah, I'll follow you. I'll follow you. Because that's what, and do you know Colin Dye, I went to a church. Do you know how long ago this was? 15 years ago, I started EDO. I had a meeting at a church in London. Well, I've had some fascinating meetings. I had a meeting with the Bishop of Pontefract. With Muslim leaders. They sat us all in a meeting together. And the meeting was it's a secret meeting at a church facility in Derbyshire.
Lobo, there was a show in the 60s called Batman, and at the end of it, they'd say same bat time, same bat channel. So I wasn't calling you a bat.
Yeah, it was to sit down and talk, yeah, with the Muslims. I said, all right. And they said, tell us what's up. I said, you're fucking taking the piss, lads. You're taking the piss on this. And I went through everything. And the Muslim bloke was like, it just come from the Golden Dome Mosque. He said, do you know how refreshing it is to hear someone just tell us how it is? He said, because everyone's always telling us everything's great. I said, well, it's not great. You're destroying. And do you know what the pastor, the priest who brought me in said that MI6 see these lot, the Dia Bandis, as the future of Britain. Oh, what? And then the Bishop of Pontefract said, what we do is we're bringing the communities together, and we have these diversity days, and we had a Christmas lunch together. I said, oh, you lot had a Christmas lunch together, yeah, for and what was it, the Dewsbury area. I said, did you have wine at your Christmas lunch? And he looked. I said, you did you? You had a Sharia compliant Christmas lunch, you wanker. I said, like, this is
you wanker.
They ain't gonna bend. You see, when it comes to their religious day, if you want to go, they're not changing nothing for you. You're changing everything for them. You're changing the whole culture.
Oh,
You're changing
smash.
everything to adapt to what Islam. But then even on that meeting with the Muslims, I found that I meet many Muslims who I found that I actually get on with them on a lot of issues. On a lot of issues. I had the school issue in Birmingham. Did you watch all that? And the Muslim parents were protesting about the LGBTQ plus stuff in school. What was your take on that? Because I watched it and I saw Muslim extremists. And then I started going down the rabbit hole on that. And I looked up the man who was organising the protest, and some of them were wankers, yeah. I looked up the man who was organising the protest, and then I went to his house.
And they weren't from that school, were they?
No, that in the end some of them weren't, but the original father, I looked up to the head teacher of the school gay. No one's ever protested. No one's ever had a problem. Yeah. And I looked up the person in charge of the education, and I found something they said that they must 5 years prior that said we must smash heteronormativity. Yeah. So I thought, well, you're the person who's bringing in this LGBTQ plus into the education, and you want to smash heteronormativity. This isn't about diversity. Yeah? This is
Vas, could you out scam the scammers on YouTube?
It's about you pushing it through.
You know them Indian sites where they rip people off because they lock their computers up? Can you do that? Can you change their computers?
The children, yeah. So then I went up and knocked on the Muslim lad's door in Birmingham, and I bought Alan Craig. It was a mad experience. Alan's about 70, an old Christian man who I met through the movement, who's a lovely man. He organised protests in London, real staunch Christian. And I went to him and said, I want to go visit these Muslims and talk to them, but I want them to know I'm coming in peace. So I don't want to turn up with low lads. So I thought I'd bring an old Christian bloke. Will you come? He said, yeah. I looked on this Muslim lad's house, and he's opened the door. This is in Sparbrook, in a Muslim ghetto. And he's opened the door, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? I said, I come in peace, bro. I come in peace. Can we talk? And he invited me in. And it's so weird because his wife made us food, but she put her arm around the door because we weren't allowed to see her. And when I spoke to him, he wasn't an extremist. He was just a dad who was pissed off with what they were teaching to his kids. And I related with him on it. But the media was saying they were extremists. So the media were attacking them as Muslim fundamentalists. But when I went through the history of the school, they didn't have a problem that the head teacher was gay. They had a problem when the boys were coming home or the girls were coming home saying they could be boys and they were coming home saying they could be girls. And I see that problem, the whole trans issue, as being polluted into all of our kids. So I found something that I got on with. We got chased out in the end when we got in the car. We had to go on the wrong way around roundabouts and everything because we got spotted on the way out. But I think with Muslims, I said we can agree on a lot. We can agree on a lot. But I saw what was happening to them, and they got injunctions against the parents to prevent them protesting outside school, which is exactly what they've done to us. They used the courts in the end. So they stopped it. They stopped their protest. They stopped their. But I didn't see it as homophobia when I went through it. I saw it as something they're trying to pollute into children's minds, which they shouldn't be. Now the books that and I looked through the books of what the books were teaching the kids as well. It was wrong, in my opinion, as a dad, and I agreed with that Muslim father as a dad. I saw him as I said, I'm here as a dad. I'm not here as Tommy Robinson. I'm here as a dad because I think what's happening in this school is happening in every school. And they were teaching that self-play, self-love. They were teaching masturbation to like 8-year-olds and that. It's just like, what's going on? What's going on? What is going on? I've gone off on another tangent.
No, it's all right. Listen, we've spoken for ages and it's been really interesting. And just before we sort of wind up, I wanted to ask what would be your message to people who aren't convinced or are afraid or are worried about, they agree with things you said, they don't agree with you,
You don't have to agree with me either.
They don't like you, they're scared of you. What would you say?
There's nothing to be scared of. I'm 5'6". Look at me. Right? What's every scared? No. If you listen to what I say, I'm not perfect. Yeah, I'm not perfect, but I do have our country's best interests at heart. I don't want to deport every single person from Britain. I don't have a problem with race or colour. I don't have a problem with any of that. But the issues I talk about have to be spoken about. And unfortunately, we have got into this situation by being too careful. We've had to tiptoe around worrying about hurting people's feelings. I don't mind hurting people's feelings if it prevents.
Okay, guys, I'm out. God bless. See you tomorrow.
Rape of children, the destruction of Great Britain, the attack on cultural identity. Unfortunately, if you tell the truth, you're going to hurt some people's feelings. So I think we need to stop worrying about being offensive. Like free speech is partly being offensive.